I typically am. I love
Oh,
my me alone time, but I think I finally reached a point where I'm ready for people. I've been listening to podcasts by all the people I know,
yeah.
just so that it feels like I'm like hanging out with
You're
them.
not, and Lee is not showing his face because he's got long hair now.
Well, long hair is nice. Why are you hiding your hair, Lee?
I don't have a face cam.
But just put your
Oh
face.
yeah.
Put.
Well, if you just
But
spun
it
the
does.
Well,
But
camera
honestly,
around,
no images of my face does make it harder for me to put on a post office wall. So
You can put your face on the table.
Yeah, put your face right on the table. Lay down.
there you go. I'm going to donate my hair, so it's really long.
new Max returning.
I figured I would just grow my hair out during the pandemic and donate it to.
Lux of love.
Yeah.
You know, that was a couple years ago now. It's probably time.
All right, so let me call Dave Gatley real fast, and then we'll get started.
I mean, I don't have anything scheduled for like an actual physical public appearance until like April, I think.
May. One in May. Hopefully it happens.
So Lee, are you sporting the man bun?
Fuck no. Oh, sorry. I am very anti-man bun. I do rock a ponytail though.
Okay, see you a little bit. Okay, bye.
Sorry.
Let's see. So does
Lois,
everybody
are we
see
the
him
only
now?
girls?
Is Dave Gatley on, guys?
Is it all
we
guys and
we
you
don't,
and I, Lois?
I think so, but I think if Lee's rocking long hair, could we qualify him?
Okay,
as a
so Dave, I
lady?
don't see you on.
There we go.
There you go. There he is. Okay, I'm hanging up the phone. Dave Gatley is here. It wasn't supposed to be all guys. I asked several women. I asked Donna Cosentino, and it was and also Lois's right hand person supposed to be on his another lady. So it's supposed to be like half and half.
To be another lady.
Well, hey, I like to get a mix in here, and they both canceled out. So we just stuck with mostly guys.
So I just want to comment that there was one year we had a picture that showed the judges during probably tier 1 or tier 2 judging. And someone said, where are all the women? And I said, just to let you know, that year, 47 or 48% of all the judges were women.
Wow. That's interesting. Well, like when I do my Photoshop users group meetings, I invite lady artists all the time, but they always end up canceling.
No,
I'm not going to name any names, but
they don't always count. I've never counted.
Yes, you have. Yes, you have twice.
No way.
Yes,
I've never canceled.
Oh,
I
you
just
should.
well, no, you didn't. No, you didn't cancel. You just said you couldn't do it.
I might not be available.
Right,
But if
right,
I'm
right.
available and I say I do it, I'll show up.
Yeah.
Oh, can I ask some, Theresa?
Who was that, Lee?
No, it's Otis Stockpucker here.
Okay, so welcome, that's a Pro Peak Photos. Great. Severe buffering. Okay, guys, if you're experiencing buffering on Twitch there, that's your bandwidth. So just be patient. It'll catch up. It'll correct.
I should turn my camera off while I eat.
Yeah, but I'm getting clean. Everybody's coming through clean on my end. So let's see.
Well, I haven't taken a shower yet, but I mean, it's I'm clean enough, I suppose.
You smell terrible, John.
Oh, let me mute the smell. Hold on a second.
So,
I like your background, John.
Hi, Dave.
Hey, buddy. How are you?
I am. I guess you can see me waving now. I'm not used to. I've been doing meetups every 2 weeks and small group workshops and all sorts of stuff, but I don't use the camera. I actually bought a camera because the camera that's built into the Apple looks like crap. Can I say that?
Yes, you can. This is our personal
I
channel.
don't know, but you call my camera crap, so.
Crap camera.
We're on Twitch. There's been worse language. I dropped an F-bomb just a little bit ago. So I will try to resist doing that later.
What the frick?
Yeah. What the fracking fellow have you been smurfing?
Is that what you said?
What is that a drawing of?
We don't
Nothing at
know.
the moment.
Nothing.
It's a picture of Lee. Naked in a snowstorm. With his eyes closed.
So
How can you tell he's naked?
You don't want to know.
Yeah.
Remember that whole thing of like, I take vitamin D supplements because I have seen so little sun.
Oh, really?
So let's put it that way. This is like prescription. Like my doctor sent me this and said, you really need this.
Well, you do know that men have a tendency to be deficient in vitamin D3 a lot.
Oh, I thought we were just deficient in a lot of other areas.
So Boss Undy, welcome. Faye Barsh, welcome. IB Wizard, welcome. Welcome to the Digital Creativity with Chrome Illusion. Today is the San Diego Photoshop Users Group meeting, a special one. We do this once a year. Welcome, Joan Everts is
Thank
here.
God.
John Pompey,
Oh,
welcome. Caxi PS, I guess stands for Photoshop number 6. Welcome. Mac Pippy, hi Pippy. How you doing? Phil Gouch, I think it is. Welcome. And Pro Peak Photos is here, and more people are slowly coming in. So we'll say hello to them later. Oh my gosh, it's been a hell of. This is our first meeting of 2022. We normally meet over at Platt College. We always met in person. We don't meet in person anymore because of the pandemic. It's been a hell of a 3 years. But it's opened up opportunities for the Photoshop group because now we're actually getting a lot of international involvement. So we're getting people coming from literally everywhere.
Convenient for this because this is an international photo event too. So
yeah, there you go.
Just putting that out there for a plug. You can mail your stuff in.
So the
Lee, how do you talk and your lips aren't moving? I mean,
it's not my mouth that I'm talking out of.
Okay. Oh.
So every year, I think the San Diego International Photography and Digital Arts Exhibition is the largest in the U.S. Is that true, Lois? Are we still the largest?
Yes, we're actually the oldest and largest running photo international competition that's printed. So largest juried and printed photo competition.
Okay, yeah, fantastic. So beginning every year, we have the actual judges here. Well, a few of the actual judges. We have a lot more than this. That are part of that are responsible for jurying in the images that you see hanging on the wall at the San Diego County Fair. And it's a lot of photos, and there's a lot of categories. So Lois Sakai is the coordinator for the International Photography and Digital Arts Exhibition. And I've brought on other judges here. In fact, I tell you what, let's introduce Lee. Lois, introduce yourself first, and I'm going to go around and have everybody introduce themselves, and just a very brief description of who you are and what you specialize in as a photographer.
Okay, so I'm actually a second generation photographer. My dad was a photographer. We did it as a hobby, and we own Jade Coast Photography. So it's events, portraits, seniors, and dance. We started out in dance. For fun, I photograph still life. Mostly I do goofy Friday. I call them my Friday funnies. So every Friday I do stupid pictures that I post on and I share on social media just for fun. Started that during the pandemic. And then I also do some landscape pictures, and I really love abstract work also. So in real life, my other life, I'm actually a civil engineer.
Okay, thank you. Lee, you next.
I am a professional artist. I work in traditional and digital media. I primarily, most people know me for a lot of artwork that hangs in the Disney art galleries. Is what I'm most known for. Primarily, I work for Lucasfilm creating that artwork. But I also do product design and artwork that you'll find on things like, toys from Hasbro, or, just if you go to Sideshow Collectibles, periodically there'll be things up there that I've designed. But I'm basically, if it requires an illustration or, a digital concept or something like that, I've probably worked on it at some point.
All right. Thank you, Lee. John, we can't hear you. You're muted your microphone.
I figured it out.
Okay.
Hello, my name is John Watts. My company is Watts Digital Imaging, and I'm a post-processing specialist for photographers. My motto is you take the perfect print, and I hope you get the absolute most out of it, your print or mine. And I can help in 3 distinct areas: Photoshop, instruction and services, high-end light jet digital printing and finishing, and color management products and services. And unlike Lois, who's a civil engineer, I am an uncivil post-processing specialist. That's it.
All right, Greg. Oh, Greg, what's happening on your end? We don't hear you. Now we hear you. Yes.
Okay.
Perfect. Yes. Great.
Okay. I had an external microphone, and it sometimes gets buggy. I'm Greg Clampt. I'm a graphic designer and have been an art director for most of my life. So I work with a lot of photography. I'm still an aspiring photographer. My favorite subject matter is mostly nature, but I'll shoot anything, and I really enjoy just applying the principles of design to photography and talking about that. So I'm glad to be here today.
Great. Thanks, Greg. And Dave Gatley.
Oh, is he here? I'm Dave Gatley. I used to be LA Times. I used to be chief photographer down here and managed to close the office down here. But all that aside, my major interest is photojournalism. Always has been. But I've shot everything. I do an awful lot of military. I've been to the war front many times. But I love landscape. I love wildlife. I love critters. I just love photography.
Okay.
My bane is Nikon. But like Greg, I'll shoot anything and have shot everything.
Right.
Been doing it a long time. I've been doing it for 55, 60 years, something in that order.
Okay.
10 years old as I am.
Wow. Great. Thank you, Dave. And Theresa Jackson.
Am I last?
Well, what we do is we sandwich the guys in between the 2 girls.
That sounds
Okay, well, I'm not going to comment on that. What can I say about myself after that? I'm Theresa Jackson. I am an instructor at AmeriCosta College, which is in North San Diego County. I teach Photoshop and Illustrator there. I am also a graphic designer, and really for the last few years, most of my focus has been on training and teaching. I have a number of courses on LinkedIn Learning. Most of them are about Lightroom. Lightroom's my favorite subject to teach and coach because people don't get it. They don't understand it. And I love that aha, like when I can help somebody and they go, oh my God, it makes sense now. I love that. I love that moment. So I really enjoy teaching Lightroom. That's not about me.
Right. Thank you all for being here. So greatly appreciated. And it's great to have your expertise here. So I guess what I'm going to do is I'm going to take it back to Lois. Lois is going to talk a little bit about the exhibition, the processes, and answer questions for anybody. And I'll keep my eye on the questions here, and answer them as people bring them up.
Okay. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and start sharing my screen.
And go ahead and share your screen, and I'm going to switch the monitor screen over towards, give me a second, Lois.
Okay.
All right, so that I can get set up here. And I think there we go. Cool. All right, so screen is switching.
Okay, so we are the International Exhibition of Photography at the San Diego County Fair. We are the oldest juried print competition in the United States. So we typically get between 4,200 to 4,400 entries. We originated here in San Diego in our Balboa Park Photographic Arts building next to Spanish Village. So a lot of people do ask, why are we the International Exhibition of Photography? And it starts because the US Navy actually was involved in this photo competition. And a lot of people would enter because they were from all over the world. And since then, we've continued to get entrants from all over the world. We get people that send prints in from Asia. We had a ribbon winner a few years ago that was from Japan that showed up during the artist reception. We have people that send pictures in from Central America, South America, and Europe. So in 2019, we had about 4,300 entries. And while as much as we would love to send all of the pictures up on the wall, our gallery can only hang about 1,200 images. And so if your image is selected to go on the wall, it means that you're already in the top 25 to 30% of all the images that are submitted. So don't worry about getting a ribbon. Be happy if your picture is selected to be on the wall.
Did you refresh your screen?
So if you want, I'll pause here for a few seconds and you guys can feel free to take a cell phone picture or a screen grab of these. These are the list of categories of all of the pictures that you can submit. So landscaping with the spring, summer, fall, and winter are usually some of the most popular categories. People formal means that it's a portrait where the photographer has controls. You can bring in lights and reflectors. Informal means that you have no control over the picture whatsoever. You just come across a scene and then you take a picture.
Right now I'm showing a different screen.
Are you able to see my screen?
Yeah, I think we're having some bandwidth problems. I guess
Okay.
some people online. Hold on, just give me a quick second. I'll let you continue. Some people online having bandwidth problems.
Have them turn off their own cameras and see if that helps.
Yeah, but I think it's on their end. When you say chart, be specific. What do you mean? Okay, great. So I guess people are having a little bit of a bandwidth problem here. Okay.
You know what they can also do is close the meeting completely and then open it again, and it might solve that problem.
Right.
That's Zoom. He's talking about Twitch users, I believe.
Oh, Zoom.
That's-
See, I'll shut up now.
Yeah,
I'll mute myself.
It's the Twitch members. I guess so far a couple of people are having problem, but I'm not severe buffering. Only 2 people buffering for me keep having problems. So yeah, a few people, 3 people so far. I'm not hearing much from anybody else.
Well, my last class is 014 cell phone.
That's all I have. I haven't moved forward from 014.
Cool.
Okay, so yeah, so we're seeing everything fine here. Twitch is acting up strangely enough. It seems to be a Twitch problem.
So let's not.
Yeah, we're not going to worry about it. We're going to keep going forward. So
Okay.
So
I'll continue on. So I'm continuing on with different categories. So we have a category that's just black and white. And then here's Dave Gatley's favorite one. Class 19 is documentary, which means that you can only do things to those images that you would do in a traditional darkroom. You can crop it, you can dodge, you can burn, you can change the exposure, you could do a vignette around the edges, but that's pretty much it. You cannot take things out or put things in. And then we have a category that could be color, black and white, or digital art. Categories here that don't get a lot of entries are close-up, macro, and micro. And micro means it could be, a microscope. Sports, still life doesn't get a lot of entries. Abstract, In underwater, the photographer must be underwater. So you can't go to an aquarium and submit that picture as an underwater. You must be submerged.
Because we had a lot of problems with that one year, didn't we?
Well, we used to sometimes have people that would go to Scripps Aquarium or Monterey Bay Aquarium and take pictures through the glass. And that's really an entirely different skill set.
Okay.
Our best friend is your pet. So it could be a longhorn steer, or it could be a boa constrictor. It could be a dog, could be a cat. Family moments. I love family moments. So if there's a special moment that you've been able to capture of family members together, that would be a good candidate for family moments. Nighttime means night. Fair theme. Our theme this year is Heroes Reunite. And with everything that's happened over the last couple of years, I think that we've certainly redefined what constitutes a hero.
Right.
So kind of think about that.
Hero-
At the fair is pictures that are taken at the San Diego County Fair. And all things mechanical are things that move. So I know this is a favorite category that a lot of traditionalists enjoy, and it's film and alternative processes. So if you've taken a picture that started in film or slide, even scanned work, or images that you've done in the darkroom, those would all be great photographs to enter under film and alternative processes. And we've really come a long way from having it in, having digital in the corner. Now most of the gallery starts with digital work. So film and alternative process is something that's really kind of come back to the forefront now, as a lot of people are starting to do it again. Digital art, which I know Stephen Burns and Lee Cosi and Greg Clamp love to do. So digital photographic art means that the image is based on photographs that you have taken, and then you've manipulated or you've composite and put together to tell a story. Digital artwork and illustration are images that you've put together using software to make a story. So you don't have to start with photographs for that. And this is one of the only two open categories where you can submit pictures of any theme, and it's large prints. So typically the images that hang on the wall must be ready to hang with outside dimensions of 16 by 20. Large prints must be larger than that, but no larger than 40 by 40. And the other open category is cell phone, which was in one of the earlier slides.
And that's one of the differences between our fair and most other fair competitions or international competitions, is that we standardize everything has to be on 16 by 20, where most other competitions, they allow you to have a variety of sizes.
And having everything in one size helps us hang the show a lot faster. As it is, it takes us about 2 weeks, and we actually physically touch every image at least 2 or 3 times in the hanging of it. And having everything the same size makes it a lot easier, because we actually have templates that help us set the pictures in the right place on the wall so it looks great in the gallery. So if you're interested in entering, read the instructions carefully. They're not printed yet or available online, but feel free to contact me if you do have any questions, or any of the judges I think kind of know. I know Stephen Burns, he used to be the supervisor in charge of the fair, so he knows also. So feel free to reach out to us.
Real quick, I want to add one thing here. I also have a FAQ page on my website, which covers a lot of the stuff before your stuff comes out. So if you just go to wattsdigital.com and under free stuff, you'll see an FAQ page that talks a lot about the technical stuff, not more specific stuff. But yeah, just want to throw that in.
Okay, great. Thanks, John. That will be a great resource for everybody. So look at the categories and their descriptions. And just kind of know this, even though you may have a terrific picture that is really wonderful and just has that aha moment, not every single picture might necessarily fit in our fair based on the descriptions. So make sure you take a look at the descriptions to see whether your image may fit squarely in it. And let's say you went to Antarctica in the summer and it was snowy. That picture may not translate well if you enter it in a summer category. You want to enter it probably in winter because that's kind of what it feels like. So when we have everything up online, I'll let Stephen know. He can pass that information on. And you can enter online at sdfair.com/entry by the deadline. The deadline is April 15th at 11:59 p.m. So don't wait till the very last minute, because if there's technical issues, then staff's not going to be able to help you with that.
The deadline is tax day?
Tax day. I think tax day actually is extended to Monday this year because there's
Oh,
some
yeah.
holiday or something.
Like, how many of us are actually going to get our taxes in on time? We always file extensions anyway.
So tier 1 judging is done on a computer screen with the judges. So those are the specs as to how we want you to submit the pictures so that they will look good on the computer screen. And then make sure you save your email confirmation so that we can refer to that with your entry number. So if you have questions, we can look those things up. So
Okay.
if your image is selected to go to tier 2, then the fairgrounds will be emailing you directions as to how to prepare your images for delivery. And you want to make sure you mount and you print your images per the directions. And then John said that he has that on his website. And then you can either bring in person or ship the pictures that are ready to hang. Oh, I have a typo there. Ready to hang images.
Mm-hmm.
And then on July 5, the day after we shut down the fair, then you want to pick up your entries or make arrangements with us to send us a prepaid shipping so we can return that to you. So the judges are going to be talking about this, but you want to make sure that your images will have impact. So you may take pictures that you feel really connected to. It may be a memory picture, it's a happy picture, or you remember the feeling you took when you made that picture. It's a lot of times when we make pictures, we have a personal connection to it, but know that the judges may not have that backstory and know what you're feeling when you took that picture. So you may want to check with other people and just kind of see what their thoughts are before you decide to enter an image. So the judges I know are probably going to go through the different elements of a picture, but impact is very important. Make sure that you're some sort of focal point. And I've noticed that some photographers just shoot wide, but when you shoot wide, sometimes you tell multiple stories in one image, and judges want to know exactly what it is that you're trying to tell them. So I'm going to move on from here. So I think the judges are going to be speaking about a lot of that. So issues that the judges see in some images is the lack of impact, lack of focal points, that with your exposure might not be proper. So you might have highlights that are too bright. You might have darks that are too dark, and you don't have some detail in the dark parts, in which we call shadow detail. When we have Photoshop and Lightroom, I think it's a good idea for us to remember that just because we have sliders and we can work pictures up to 100% in any slider, that a little bit of restraint can be good also. And if it's a nature picture, you might want to check and see if those pictures exist in nature also, and not overly saturate things. An easy fix for pictures, when your camera's not straight when you take the picture, is to check your horizontal lines to make sure that they're level, unless your intent is to have it at an angle. Dust and sensor spots on your images can be taken out. You can clone those out. The loose cropping that I mentioned earlier, which could cause a lack of a focal point. Check the sides of the images also to see if you have something that's kind of growing out of an edge that's distracting. Is that something you can crop out? Sometimes we see that images look great on a computer screen, but they may not be large enough or have the resolution to print big also. So do some test prints and check your images before you submit them. And as good and beautiful as your images may be, the judges ultimately will be judging, especially in tier 2, on what the presentation is. So make sure that your images look neat and they look professional and worthy of hanging in the gallery. You can pretty much print on any substrate. I do ask that the images not be printed on glass. We had that happen one year, and I was terrified that our staff would get hurt by the edges of the glass, and or that the image would drop onto the floor and just be shattered into a million pieces. If you have metal prints, all the edges must be rounded to prevent injury. So if you bring in something that has sharper metal corners, we'll ask you to go back and sandpaper down all the corners. As you make your prints, we suggest that you make smaller copies of it to check how they look on the different papers. If you need to, reprocess it. So rinse and repeat.
Lois,
yes.
Could you talk about the fact that not everything that makes it to tier 2 will be hung and why?
Well, sometimes it's the printing. The printing may have an image problem. Maybe the colors didn't turn out right. It could be because there was a problem with the mounting. I will have some pictures of some images that had problems. We've had images where the image was not square inside of the mat, and so it slipped or it just wasn't mounted properly. Mats must be pure white or pure black. So not gray, not snow white, not ivory. So it has to be paper white or black only. They can only be single matted, not double matted. There's no key line that's any color other than white or black within the mat. Large prints, we have a weight limit on them right now, or large prints, they must weigh less than 9 pounds. And the reason is because we only hang the pictures on the wall with Velcro. We do suggest that if you have a metal print or any other print, that you do not mount it on a float mount. Or if you do a float mount, make it so that we can grab around to the back of the float so we can properly place the picture without injuring it or ourselves. So as I said, the mats and mount boards must be pure black and pure white. On the very back of your image, you're going to want to put the digital tag that shows the proper direction to hang the image. And we have had a few times where we hung the picture based on the picture that was on the back, and only to find out during the run of the fair that the tag was improperly mounted and we had actually hung on the wall, the image turned 90 degrees or upside down. When you enter and when you print, absolutely make sure that the name of your photographer, of you, So no names, signatures, or watermarks are allowed on the image or the mat or in the title, because the judges can see that. So all of the images must be anonymous.
And what will happen if the names are actually seen on the print? You might want to share that.
The judges will disqualify the image.
Right.
So they'll not move forward with judging.
Stephen and I have personally disqualified Lee Cozy a couple times.
Yeah, I was gonna say I can totally vouch for that. I flat out I put my signature. I was doing stuff that I did commercially, so my signature was on the artwork. I didn't think about it. Submitted it. They looked at it. My signature's on it. They're like, nope, disqualified. I took my signature off and I re-entered it the following year, and it actually won. So
they were always great images.
Well, I did that, but I'm just trying to point out to everybody. So make sure, like, so even if it's a really good image, they're gonna kick you out if your name's on it. So
yeah.
Since Lee's disclosing his mistake with that, I'll disclose I did the same. Before I was a judge, I entered one year and had signed my prints. So yeah, don't do it. You feel very foolish when you make that mistake.
And we have audibly sighed sometimes when we see a beautiful image and we're like, oh, this is great. And it's like, did he sign it? God,
yeah, you sign it because you're so proud of it, right?
Yeah, and then we're just like, DQ, make sure we put a note in it. And do they get those notes? Because I know we put the notes.
They do.
Oh yeah.
Okay.
They should.
So pay attention when they go, yeah, you got bumped because of, read that.
All right, so we'll move on. John has the link on his website as to what you will need and how you can mount your image, and we'll have hopefully a slightly clearer version that we've written in the last couple of months also to make it a little bit easier. But please do not use masking tape or Scotch tape to hang your pictures, because it doesn't really stick, and the temperature and the humidity change a lot in the room. So you need something like an artist tape or a linen tape so that the image will be able to stay on the board.
Do you still have that video of Jeremy Dunaway on the mounting?
We still have that somewhere. I don't know if they're going to be able to put that up or not this year.
Okay.
So I'll have to check on that.
Okay.
We recommend that you do not use photo corners, again, because it doesn't allow images to expand or contract, and it will cause your image to buckle between the two mats. The same with spray glue, because that will cause your image to buckle. Your front mat and backing board should both be the same size. So this is our new version. I don't know if you guys want to go back and take a look at this later. You can take a screen grab of it or a cell phone picture if you want at this point. So I'll pause for a few seconds.
Okay, great. I was just getting ready to ask about if you had some visual examples. This is fantastic.
Yeah, Amatho spent a lot of time working on this year.
Awesome. And also after Lois is done with this, I know a lot of us have like our go-to place that we've used over the years that are, we all have different places. Do we want to take a moment when Lois is done talking about the matting to actually suggest places to take it to?
Well, yes, that'd be great. Absolutely.
Do you want to mention those now? I know, John, you're one. Do you want to name your company again?
You're muted, John.
I know. wattsdigital.com. WATTS digital.com.
And are you having a fair special this year too?
I am, and it's listed under, if you go to the menu at the top, it says digital printing, and underneath that you'll find SDC Fair Print Special. And also under free stuff, you'll find the FAQ that you'd mentioned earlier.
And John is wattsphoto.com, right?
Watts Digital.
Wattsdigital.com.
Yeah.
All right.
WATTS digital.com.
I'm going to type it in into the chat box for the Twitch people.
Thank you.
We should probably mention
Well, I was going to say the place I always go to, they do not do printing. It is exclusively matting and framing. But there's a place that I take. I do all my printing in house. But I would always take it to Steve Bergstrom over at Frame It Yourself. And kind of what I love that he does is he does a hot pressed dry mount. So he will, like, literally every square inch of your image is adhered to an acid-free archival board, so that there is no warping or anything, and that image is not going to shift or move at all. And I've never had a problem, and it's not expensive at all. It's much, I think it's like less than $20, but it's well worth that extra, that $20. I see people try and frame and mat their stuff all the time. If you're not a professional, don't do it. You're going to screw up. Trust me. Not for competition anyways. Do it for your personal stuff.
Does anybody else have any recommendations?
I was going to recommend Vern Elmore. I don't know if he's judging this year or not, but he has a frame shop in Escondido. So if you're in North San Diego County.
Right.
And Frame It Yourself is in Claremont.
All right.
There's North
Bay City or whatever it was, Stephen, was another place
it was
used?
in North Coast Photographic. Right.
There's Chrome down in San Diego on Kettner.
That's right.
Vern's shop is called Citrus Framing. So yeah, so pretty much wherever you are if you're in San Diego County, there's probably a good place to go that's not too far away.
I've used Artware in the past, ARTWARE. I think it's ARTWARESD.com. And he's over by the Pyramid in Mira Mesa. He does excellent work also.
Okay.
Well, Jeremy from Artware has been one of our longtime sponsors too.
Yeah. He's a good guy.
All right. Well, I'm going to move on then. So again, these are directions on how to do it.
So as a question, mounting recommendations again. So Pro Peak Photos, I just posted the link in chat box. North Coast Photographic. I also put in Watts Digital, and I'll put up the rest in just a moment. Sorry.
Okay.
You should also mention, if you haven't gotten to it yet, that if you have a great mount but a crappy print, it's not going to do you much good. So you should, if you don't have post-processing skills, you should get together with someone like Theresa, Larry Vogel, myself, someone who's used to working with the images after the fact so that you get the best print out of your image. Nothing worse than having a great mount and then having a subpar image, a subpar print on a great image.
Right.
All right. So that's the picture again. So these are some of the problems that we have. And these are actual images that were brought into us. The first one, someone used masking tape, and that actually doesn't stick very well. The second picture, the one on the right, the person mounted their print right onto the back of the mat. It's easier to do that, but if you don't put enough double stick tape to secure that front mat to the backboard, this is what can happen. And we actually walk around the gallery every day, and we're finding images that end up on the floor, and we repair them and we leave little love notes for the photographers so that they know how to make it better next time. This is an instance where somebody submitted an image and the image was beautiful, but the mat was not cut with a straight edge or a sharp knife. It was cut with, it looks like a bread knife.
Possibly a house cat.
I don't know, maybe.
I always love it when somebody cuts their mat with their house pet.
I tried that with my dog. It didn't work.
Because usually that we end up, I think Greg and I, not to give up judging secrets, but during the judging, we will sometimes sit there and just to amuse ourselves, try to guess the most absurd thing they cut it with.
Well, here's another one where the mount board was not cut to the same dimension as the mat in the front, and so it actually was showing behind the mat. And it was a completely different color.
Now, was that last one? That was a disqualifiable offense too, right?
Yes, it was.
From hanging. Okay.
That was during tier 2 judging.
Yeah.
So another one where the mat, the image was not, there was no front mat, which is not a crime, but the image was not set square on the mount board either. So it was uneven. And so the judges did not pass this through to hang on the wall. This one's double matted, and the front mat was not white. So the judges didn't allow that to hang.
Is double matting okay?
Excuse me?
Is double matting okay?
No, only a single mat.
Okay.
And when you select a mat, we recommend that you take into consideration the weight of the mat also. Since the mat is held on with only double stick tape, hopefully more than one strip of double stick tape around all the edges. If you have a super heavy mat, that will cause the front mat to possibly fall off.
And also do you cover the core color?
The core color can be white or black for the front mat.
So it could be a white mat with a black core.
That would be fine also.
Okay, yeah, I'm just trying to clarify some of the questions we've gotten in the past. So
Yeah. So white or black only, and the core can be white or black only. Here, the print was not placed square, and there was also a knife slip. This was probably one of my
All-time favorites?
all-time favorite entries that was delivered to us. The print was delivered, and on the front of the mat, it looks like somebody had dropped it and they stepped on it with their tennis shoe that had a waffle pattern on it, and they still submitted it. And unfortunately, the judges did not pass this through to hang on the wall.
Even though it's art, of course.
Um,
I think he's being facetious.
All right, there was a little bit of sarcasm in that.
From John.
So
I know,
this
hard
is
to
a
believe.
situation where photo corners were used on the back of the image, and it caused the image to warp, but there also wasn't very much double stick tape that was used. So it caused the image the mount to fall apart while it was in the gallery. I think the dented corners are something that judges tend to not like. And here, the double stick tape, there was only a little bit of double stick tape on it, but it was not enough to secure the image to the mat to the backboard, so it fell off.
I love that you've actually photographed all these things we've seen over the years and archived them for this. Because I know sometimes trying to describe it to people, they'll make the mistake not knowing, because describing it versus just, this is visibly, here's a photo of what you did wrong.
Well, this is an instance where the photographer printed something, and I don't remember if it was on foam core or acrylic, but they decided to make it fit to the 16 by 20 outside dimensions. So they, that's not duct tape, that's
Gaffer's tape?
gaffer's tape. So they put gaffer's tape on the back of the image and taped it onto a mat. And then they tried to double stick a float mount to the back, which was much smaller than what we could reach around. And the double stick tape failed. So everything fell to the ground. So here's a behind the scenes of some pictures of what happens during the judges. This is during tier 1. All the judges work in teams of 3, and they're assigned categories such that each team has approximately the same number of images to judge. These are some of the things that judges are looking for when they're judging. So impact, is it a good composition? What was the technical capability of the photographer?
Lois,
Yes.
real quick, can you mention before you move on from matting that you don't have to have a physical mat on your print?
True. You can have a full bleed without.
Well, you can also have a digital mat. In other words, you can have an 11 by 14 on a 16 by 20.
That is
with the
true.
black or white around it.
Yes. So you can have a digital mat where it's all printed together in one, or you can have a physical mat. Or you can have a full bleed where you have no mat at all.
Yeah, a physical mat is actually a lot more professional and handsome.
Well, it also protects the image, but there's an additional cost. So those are things you have to weigh in your decisions on that. A digital mat is going to be less expensive than a physical mat. I think the staff does a phenomenal job of taking care of the prints. I've never had anything come back to me damaged, but if it has a physical mat on it, it is more protected than a digital mat.
And
So
just
from
less
the,
professional.
Unless the image has a laminate on top of it.
Mm-hmm.
so from the time that we receive your images, we only touch the images wearing white gloves.
And they do it very gently.
We treat them like they're our babies because we know that they're your babies. So we try to take care of your babies for you.
And don't yell at the judges. We're not allowed to touch the artwork. I've had somebody yell at me one time.
Right, and so basically what Lee is saying is that, actually, let me ask before I make this comment, Lois, how many judges do we have during the fair?
We typically have at least 36. I have had 39 or 40 in 1 year.
And all of those judges are and she breaks us up into groups of threes, in which each group will judge a certain category in the fair. And the judges are, like Lee mentioned, the judges are not allowed to touch the prints at all. So, kind of give you the feeling of the setup. That was
Here's
it.
some more of tier 1 judging. This is what the gallery looks like when we take possession of it. So those are all the supplies that we use to build the entire show. This is intake. And then tier 2 judging. And the judges can ask our handlers, our clerks and Marines to move the prints closer, tilt it so that they don't see a glare. They can ask for a title of an image if they so want. And you can notice that the clerks only touch the images wearing white gloves.
As far as the title, just because you touched on that, keep in mind, we don't see the title, but we can ask for it. So don't put a clever title on something thinking that, if the title tells the story of the image, there's a 90% chance we're never going to see it.
So Dave Gatley, is it more important to have a title when you're judging documentary?
Not necessarily, although there have been a couple of questionable entries I can remember in the past. No, we don't live on titles. In fact, most people don't know how to title, in my humble opinion.
Okay.
I'm
I
one
think
of them.
it's also important to mention that because Steven said we do different categories. We're teamed up and then we do different categories.
Mm-hmm.
Ideally, we judge the same group of photos in the tier 2 that we judged in tier 1. There has been an occasion of having to switch us around, but the goal is that we stick together as a team and we judge the same category all the way through.
Yep.
So once the judges have selected all their winners and honorable mentions for their categories, all of the first place winners for each category are put together on these tables. And the judges walk around and they are each given a card, and they put that one card down on the image that they think deserves to be the best in show. The images that don't get very many cards are taken off the table. The judges walk around again and they repeat and rinse until we get a clear winner. Some years it takes only 2 or 3 times to walk around the tables and they know exactly who the winner is. Other years we've had 12 or 13 times around, and it might be one vote that makes the difference between best in show and the runner up. That said, we have had a few times where the runner-up got more votes from the public going through the gallery, and they ended up winning the People's Choice Award also. And these are some of our judges from Tier 2 holding their cards that they used to vote. We put Velcro on every single image, and this is an image of the gallery right before the artist reception, which is typically the night before opening. And this is our artist reception this year is going to be on June 7th. And these are important dates that you need to know. So entry deadline's April 15th before midnight. You'll get your notifications April 27th. And then if you're going to ship entries, you can do it anytime after you receive your notification up until May 18th. Print delivery is going to be May 17th and 18th. We have the artist reception June 7th, which is the night before opening. And then entry pickup is on July 5, and it's July 5 only. We'll be gathering the judges that are available for our roundtable and critique. So the San Diego County Fair is one of the few competitions that allow you to interact with the judges. Mm-hmm. If you can, we highly recommend that you show up for the roundtable so you can see the process that the judges went through, and for the critique also. And bring images. You can bring a USB drive, you can bring an iPad. If you have images that are printed, feel free to bring those. Images that you may have that didn't make the wall, check those out and have the judges take a look at those to give you some feedback as to what you might be able to improve in the future.
And I can't say enough how important that particular presentation is, because we're all there in one place, and those who've entered, maybe you've got half of your images in, but you didn't get the other half, and you felt like the other half should have been in. You get to it's your chance to kind of come at the judges and say, hey, why did this not get in? What was, what was the process, your thought process as to why you chose these images over these images? It's a good interaction between the public and the judges. So be there if you can.
And it's all for free with fair entrance. So I think it's a great, great opportunity. And one of my favorite things that we started a few years ago as part of the judges' critique is to have the judges not only look and critique images that you bring in or other photographers bring in, but we have some judges that are in the gallery also. And some might start with just the categories that they had judged, and they could talk about the images on the wall, but others will walk through and just in general talk about other categories also. So it's really a great, great opportunity. We have 2 photo shootouts this year. They're going to be on Sundays. So you're going to sign up online, and when you show up, we'll give you a subject to shoot for. Come back with your one favorite image from each of the shootouts, and we'll have some judges give commentary and select the winners. Tips from photographers will be a panel of photographers that have had success in the show. So some may be novice photographers and others may be more seasoned photographers. And we're going to have workshops pretty much every Friday, Saturday, and Sunday.
Okay.
So you can get more information by going to these QR codes. And when there's updates, they'll show up. And I don't know if any of you know, but back in November, we lost our beloved long-term photo show coordinator, Jean Wild. And we're going to be doing a special new award this year called the Gene Wilde Award. So members of his family are going to be coming in and selecting a winner based on the type of photo that he would have enjoyed shooting and he would have enjoyed seeing. And we're also planning on having a Gene Wilde happy hour night. And we'll have a book out so people can sign and, messages to his family.
A wonderful man. It was a real shock to see him go.
Mm-hmm.
So are you ready to look at winners from previous years yet?
Yeah, and then let's go ahead. We've got about 25 minutes left before we take a 15-minute break. So why don't we go through these, and even the judges can kind of jump in and talk about them. Maybe talk about maybe their experiences in terms of what they see, how they judge, why they judge. We want to talk about the mistakes to avoid. I like to hear that coming from the judges.
Okay.
Things to avoid, things to look for, to consider, all that stuff.
All right. Well, this first slideshow is about 4 minutes long, so I'll go ahead and start it.
All right.
These are winners from 2017 and 18.
Okay.
That's Kim's image. Hey, that's my dad.
That was nice, Lois. Thank you.
Yeah, very
Thank
nice.
you. And then I'm gonna go back to. Shall we look at the 2019 winners now?
Sure, go for it.
Yeah, that was fun. Let's see more.
All right, gang. That pretty much completes.
That's fantastic, Lois. Thank you very, very much.
I had to mute my mic so I wasn't going ooh and ah every couple of seconds. By the way, I will that there was the one still life with the bread and the fruit and stuff. I remember that picture just kind of like bringing the judging to like a screeching halt. Like I remember people actually calling some of the judges over, like, "Come here, check this out. Look at this," like from other categories and stuff. And I thought that
Lee, it's because you were looking at it upside down, buddy.
probably.
Or maybe
I remember
Still
seeing
I don't
many of
judge
those
still life. I just remember getting called over, like, check this out. Isn't this one awesome?
I have an observation from watching that might be helpful. It's something that I thought about after I had judged for a few years. It wasn't something that was really obvious to me at the beginning. I think, Lois, you and I were having a conversation in the show floor one day, and people were asking, the public were asking, like, some of these images are so simple. Why would this image win over something that's more complicated?
Right.
And I came to this kind of realization that part of it is the sheer number of images that we look at when we're judging. And there's a fatigue factor that comes from looking at image after image after image after image. And I think when we land on something that is just simple and beautiful and easy to look at, that we're drawn to it in part because we're tired of looking at so much. So you might have noticed looking at all those winners that there was a lot of very more simple, single focus, single subject matter, like Lois, you were talking about, avoid the big wide view with a lot going on. And in particular for this type of a show, I think those more simple, easy to follow stories are going to fare better because we're looking at so many images. It's a relief to look at an image that speaks to you immediately without having to really put a lot of hard work looking at all the parts and trying to figure out what you're looking at.
So you mentioned something very interesting because we lost another person, the late great David King,
Yes.
been about a year and a half now to cancer also. One of his sayings was, "We as judges know there is an image in there somewhere, but it's not up to us to find it." And one of the things that struck me, in addition to the simplicity that Theresa was talking about, was the fact that there was a rightness of framing with every one of those pictures. One of the biggest reasons, to me anyway, is that the reasons images don't make it to tier 2 is because they're not cropped right. Okay, people are, for some reason, are afraid of cropping, and they shouldn't be, because there's a focus in an image, and you need to crop to that. I mean, obviously, like Theresa was saying, or I guess it was Lois talking about the big wide open spaces and stuff. That's fine, but it's got to have a rightness of framing. And so that's something that I'll always remember David for, is to point out that one of the biggest challenges from getting from step one, from tier 1 to tier 2 is the lack of rightness of cropping.
Right.
Also, keeping.
So I'm not a judge, but one thing that I have come to realize is that I've noticed that a lot of photographers, especially when they start out, and artists in general, tend to think that more information is better, but that's not always the case. And I have come to the realization that having fewer things to work with actually is more difficult to work with, because the placement of every single detail becomes more important, but it also gives an image a certain elegance when you put all the pieces together in just the right way.
Yeah, I totally agree. But I think especially in the case of this type of a competition, especially because of the sheer numbers of images that we're looking at there, as we're humans, we get tired of just bombarded with so much. So when we see something that's simple, well laid out, easy to follow, I think we respond positively to that. And it shows looking at all the winners. Look at all those winners.
Tier 1 judging discards 70% of the images, and that it's so quick that on so many photos the decision is like that. When we see something, if it makes no impression, it's pretty easy to set it aside. If it hits us in the face and grabs us by the eyeballs and pulls us in and makes us want to look deeper and look into it, it has a chance of going forward. And so it's a really quick gut decision oftentimes, and so you've got to get that impact, but you also have to keep it when it's looked at a more detailed level too. And then when it's compared to other images if it gets into tier 2, it's got to stand up against all those other images, and it's got to look good on the wall too.
Yeah.
Now, can you judges talk about the wow factor, that impact, that
to me, that's what makes it. An image has to be unique, and I'm a follower of both Ansel Adams and a guy named John Sarkowski, and he had 5 essential elements that make a photograph unique, and they were let's see, what are they? The subject and its meaning, the detail in the image, frame, vantage point, and time. And how many? I'll watch this. How many of you guys have seen pictures of the Coronado Bridge? How many of those have jumped out at you? Okay, it's a very familiar subject matter, but the ones that are unique and jump out at us, like Greg was saying, we're looking at a lot of images. You've got to make that image jump out. Okay.
Well,
and
especially if
unique.
it's a subject matter that's photographed a lot. We see a lot of piers, we see a lot of ocean scenes, a lot of sunsets, and we love them all, right? But to create an image like that stands out, it's hard to do. So think about that when you're choosing your images to enter. If it's a sunset or a pier or an oceanscape, it's got to be damn really good.
One of my favorite quotes from David King also was somebody brought him an image and during the critiques, and they asked, "What's wrong with my picture?" And he's all like, "Well, it's a snapshot." And he's like, "Well, I don't understand." And he's like, "Well, basically you submitted a wonderful snapshot, but this is a photo exhibition. Somewhere in that snapshot I see 3 different photos.
That's exactly. And I know Lois made the comment about, or was it? I forget who it was. Made a comment that sometimes people are very afraid to crop their photos, and I don't believe that's it at all. I think people don't see it. I think it's part of the. I think that they're at a certain point in their composition education that oftentimes they put in too much or things that shouldn't be there, rather than focusing on the very thing that the photo should be about.
Well, also a lot of times these photos are a personal experience. So you'll get a photo of like, basically
sunset.
something that was emotional for that person at the time.
Yeah.
And so they take this wide shot to get all the various aspects that made them emotional in one shot. And we're not there, so we don't have that. We didn't get that experience, didn't carry over. But if you can isolate just one little section of that image, crop it down so that you can give us at least a part of that emotion instead of losing it in the noise of data and pixels and stuff. Just isolate this little area that actually gives us a little bit of that experience you had.
And it's actually it's not even about recreating my experience when I took a picture. It's about creating another experience for the viewer out there. I mean, sometimes it is the same thing, but it's really having the attention on what you're creating for the person that's going to look at this thing. So it doesn't have to maintain the same thing you felt at the sunset. It's a new experience, and it really has to pop, and it has to pull people in.
Yeah, I think that experience though is why people are afraid to crop, is because they are looking at it from their experience, and they're like, "Well, I don't want to reduce this because it's so emotional to me."
Right.
But like Greg just said, you can't, you have to filter and give an experience to the viewer.
I don't know about the rest of you, but I can say there's been a handful of times in tier 1 where myself and whoever I was partnered with liked an image enough that we were willing to accept it in tier 1, but we left a request that it be cropped. And we don't do that very often. So there's got to be some real draw to it. But there are times. And if you get some feedback from a judge like that, you might not want to, you might be like, oh, I don't agree with what they're saying. And that's fine. But you probably aren't going to do very well in tier 2 if you went forward without listening to that advice from the judges in tier 1.
Especially because it's the judges in tier 1, those same judges that judge you in tier 1 judge you in tier 2 most of the time.
And they're going to be like, well, we gave them
So if they say, we think you should do this, and you go, well, I disagree. It's like, well, they're going to get it back and say, well, tough luck. I almost said something else, but tough luck. You don't get the
patooties, tough patooties.
Tough patooties.
Repeat after me, Lee.
And one of the things I was going to add was, and we used to have this discussion every year, was entering your photo in the wrong category. There seemed to be a lot of confusion amongst the artists, the photographers, which category to go into or to enter it, or within a major category, which subcategory to go to.
Does my sunset belong in the night photography category?
So
were you ever going to see his photo? Lee?
What's up?
Do you have a face, or is that your face?
Is that Jane?
I'm drawing Jean.
Oh, is that?
It's really fabulous.
Oh, that's great.
So,
I can tell, yeah.
a few years ago, we had an image. It was a photograph that was entered in, I think it was Black and White People. And, well, the people category, Black and White.
That category needs a new name.
Yeah, I know. That's why I usually say people category, Black and White photographs. And it was a very moving and emotional photograph. It was a boy. He was being hugged by his parents. And the judges in the category that were judging the Black and White photos of people saw that there was a special moment there. And they decided to move it to documentary. The night of the artist reception, the family showed up and they were quite distraught because they didn't see their image on the wall when they went over to the people area of images. And when they told me what the picture was, I walked them over to documentary, and it had won first place. And this was a very fortunate instance where the judges realized that the photographer captured a moment that told a story. And the story was that that young man had just won nationals wrestling match
Wow.
for his school. Just a really heartwarming moment to see the parents when they realized what happened. And we also have another story where a photographer submitted a picture of a man in mammals, or no, wild animals. That's what it was. It was wild animals. And he may have behaved like a wild animal, but I don't think that was the intent for the description in the competition.
Hey, Stephen, are you getting any questions from those that are watching this that
Well,
we can
I
answer
am.
while we have a few minutes?
Yep, I'm looking. I've been monitoring questions very diligently. One is how can they rewatch this stream? This stream will be it'll be on my YouTube, but also it's going to be posted back to the Photoshop Users Group Facebook page. And it will also be sent back to all the members of the in the Photoshop Users Group as well. So keep your eye.
Also be in your Twitch VODs?
Well, yes, these are questions in the Twitch pods. So,
No, will this be in the Twitch VODs, the video on
oh
demand?
yes, it will be. This is also being recorded by Twitch automatically. So so you can always come back and watch it here on Twitch. And now, if you want to watch everything that I've recorded here, I do weekly recordings. It's $4 a month for the Twitch fee. It's well worth the money. A lot to learn, but yes, it'll be here, and I'll also post it to the Facebook page for the Photoshop Users Group. There's another comment here by Good Tribble. I guess it's the way you pronounce it. Couldn't tune in until now, and I always love hearing my UCSD instructor speak. Theresa Jackson, thanks. Can you submit more than Okay, can you submit more than one category? IB Wizard.
You can submit up to 20 images through all the categories.
So 20 images maximum.
That's
But
And
not-
if they all
I think what
get
they're talking
in,
about is can they enter it one image in more than one category?
No. Each
Maybe
image
I'm
can
wrong.
only be entered one time, so you can't enter a black and white of it and a color in it. You don't want to enter one image in spring, summer, fall, and winter. Judges. So sometimes we get photographers that will send a lot of different pictures that look similar. Can you talk about that? What are your thoughts? And are they competing against themselves?
Don't.
Yes. I remember the birds. In photo manipulation, we got, or photo compositing, we got a bunch of beautiful, like absolutely stunning bird images. But this person, I guess they met their 20 image quota in the one category. And we're like, and we can only approve 18 images. And if 20 are beautiful birds, we're like, well, that means nobody else is going to hang, and suddenly it's a bird category. So we knocked out everything except like the top 3 images. So, don't submit everything into one category. Just
Try not to be a one-trick pony.
we can tell. We can almost always tell the images that belong to the same artist.
Well, not
Right.
only that, but when they're entered, they also have to be entered at the same time, so they're going to show up in the same order in tier 1.
Oh, I was gonna offer that tip.
Yeah.
It's kind of an inside tip. And I've used this myself because I've judged and I've entered over the years. If you have more than one image to put into the same category, enter one day and enter the next one the next day, and they won't show up in front of the judges back to back.
Back to back. Also,
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
We'll still know though.
Yeah, we will. We probably still will know. But
But
it's
at
still
least we
better
won't
than
have
having.
burnout.
But
Yeah,
that's true.
exactly.
That's true. It's,
Now-
I do remember, like with the birds, we did hit. And keep in mind, I think one year the bird actually won. Like this guy who does the birds, or the artist. I don't remember gender specific,
I
but
know
I
that
don't
is-
remember who did the
she
birds.
won.
But it was a she.
best of show.
Yeah, I think it was
Yeah,
Robin.
it got best
Yeah.
of show. I mean, it was
Yeah.
stunning images. But I do remember that during judging, as all these birds kept coming up, after like the fourth or fifth bird, the judges were sighing. Like they were no longer like, "Wow, this is awesome." It was like,
Yeah.
another one. And then we had to go through. It took extra work to go through all of the birds and try to pick which 3 we liked the best, and
okay.
then pick everything else out.
So here's another comment or question from Mandala, Jason Mandala. I'm a little confused by what you were talking about. So that really emotional photo would not have won in People, so it was moved to documentary where it would be. If a photo can legitimately be can legitimately be in more than one category, what is the right one to be in?
I think a lot of it depends on the photographer's intent. So if you have a cell phone photograph and it's of a person or if it's nature, and you don't have to enter it in cell phone. You could enter it in the bigger, broader category.
How many more years are we going to do cell phone? Like, is it even relevant anymore? I know
yeah.
we've had that conversation.
We probably get more entries in cell phone than any other category,
Yeah.
typically because it's accessible. And
That's true.
personally, I kind of find cell phone photography to be really relevant. The best camera you have is the one with you.
Exactly.
Absolutely.
And Dave Gatley will tell you this. It's not necessarily the camera and all the bells and whistles. It's whatever that person is shooting.
Yeah.
And I don't want people to think that you have to have expensive equipment, although cell phones can be as expensive as a DSLR. Right?
Yeah, definitely.
I think most of us will agree that we want photography to be accessible. And cell phones make it accessible to pretty much everybody.
Right.
And for those that are interested in progressing to a bigger camera, cell phones are the great gateway drug to photography.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think it's a perception issue. It's a perception issue, and it gives the general public the perception that, hey, I can do this too. So,
yeah, that's a good point. So, Lois, can you speak to the popularity of the different categories? Because I think the answer to that question about the family that moved into documentary, it partly maybe it would have won in People as well, but I think that the People category is traditionally a bigger category than the documentary category. So there are certain categories that there are fewer images. Maybe the competition is a little easier because there's not as many images.
Well,
Also, isn't it a pain in John Watts Patootie to actually move stuff?
I heard that.
so traditionally, our landscape categories have been the largest. And we used to have only one category for color photographs of landscape. And it became so unattainable for the judges to be judging like a third of the images. It just didn't make sense. So one of our coordinators a few years ago decided that it would be a good idea to break it down by seasons. So that said, if you do enter in a season, spring, summer, fall, or winter, don't enter it based on when you took it, but what the picture kind of evokes. So like I said, if you go to a place that has icebergs in the summer, enter it in winter and not in summer.
What? We don't get icebergs in Southern California?
Anything you take any time of the year in San Diego is summer.
They're
Right.
Right. And so I think people, pictures we get a lot of we get a lot of pictures in categories depending on what categories won the year before, like best of show. So we had one year where there was a digital photographic art picture of the bird that won Best of Show. And the next year, we got a lot of pictures in bird. And it turned out that the winner that was Best of Show that year was also a bird picture. Although I think in the bird category, not in digital art.
Yeah, it was in the bird category.
And so in 2019, we had more entries in the bird category than any other category, including any of the landscape categories. And I think it may be because people thought that the judges had a predisposition to bird photos.
And there are a lot of good bird photographers in Southern California, well, all over the world, of course, since it's an international exhibition. But still, I mean, it is kind of, it is interesting that I never thought of that. Huh.
So sometimes people pay attention to what's hanging on the wall that has ribbons and they try to replicate that.
Huh. Okay.
Okay.
I have some thoughts on the whole bird thing because I judged the bird category one year, which was interesting because I am not a bird photographer. I don't think I have the skills to be a bird photographer or the equipment, but I know what's required of it. And so many of the images, I don't even think we met what our quota was for tier 1 because we saw so many bird images that were not in focus. So many of them.
Yeah.
Because bird photography is extremely hard to do well. So if you're going to enter a category that is a specialty like bird photography, then you need to have those professional skills and the professional equipment to do it right. You're not going to get through tier 1 if you're not. So,
well, on the flip side, I judged a category called something about the solar eclipse. And I thought that was the name of a rock band. I really did. I mean, I didn't know. So you'll notice when we were looking through the first place images a few minutes ago, the one that won in that category was the girl with the glasses that was looking up with the solar glasses. Okay, all three of us that were judging knew nothing about solar eclipses, and we got images that were so mechanical and pictures of the eclipse in a row. And I had one guy come up to me and at the artist reception and says, "How come my picture didn't do better? It's the E pluribus unum galaxy or something, and or the solar whatever." And he says, "Look at the edge here. Look at the edge. You know, see that thing? That's a, you know." It was not the one that was very creative. The one who did the glasses of the lady looking at this, the girl looking at the solar eclipse, and that's why that one won. Well, and actually, second place in that category was a family, all with their glasses on, plus their dog had the glasses on too. And I mean, you know, it wasn't the ones that you thought would be it, because these were better images.
That category, if I remember correctly, it was a 1 year only category. And the title of it was the Solar Eclipse Experience.
Yeah, exactly. Thank you.
And a lot of people missed the word experience. And in the description, we had said that it was things that were the solar eclipse, but all things dealing with the experience.
Yeah. And that's what it was that set them apart.
I remember emotion will oftentimes outweigh, usually, almost always, emotion will outweigh technique. And technique is important because if it's not good technique, it will distract. But in that case, if you've got relatively good technique and you've got a really clear story and it grabs the eye and the attention and the heart, it's gonna make a lot more impact.
So true, right?
I remember we did the judges panel one year, and this individual probably took up almost 10-15 minutes of the panel, which is a lot for one person to take up, complaining that they had spent thousands of dollars on like a trip to Antarctica or to go on safari or something like that.
I think it's the same guy I talked to. And
their photos didn't place. And it's all like, yeah, but it's not the amount of money you spent to get there. You know, this isn't a competition to see who can blow the most money on vacation. Mm-hmm. But that was like a really weird argument to have with somebody, because it lasted like really long time trying to explain that concept.
So I have a question for Dave Gatley, being a photojournalist and a Pulitzer nominated photojournalist.
Ooh, I'm hanging out with him.
Yeah.
What can you talk about capturing the moment.
Wow. How do you discuss that? I mean, it's, you know, the moment when you are in it, when you see it, it's part of that whole genre of photography in my book. You know, when you're in something special, you know, when whatever is occurring is unique or rises above everything else you've done in that kind of area. It's like trying to figure out who the lead, when you hit a story, trying to figure out what the most important element of a story is. You'll know it when you get to it. And that's a very obscure kind of description of it, but it's when you've done it for a number of years, maybe that's the qualifier. You've failed either in the past or you've won, if you will. You just know it. You feel it. It is a very special time photographically.
David King always made the comment that when you've mastered something, you can repeat it on a regular basis because you understand it really well. So
good commentary.
Yeah, so when you mastered photography, you know what good composition is. You know what what bad composition is. You know how to create a story. So you have the ability to replicate your vision fluidly on a regular basis, and that just takes time, right?
As I progressed through my career, and you talk about editing, you know what the strong images are. I know in my mind.
Oh yeah.
I can play those images back, but I know what images to go to when we were dealing with film. I knew exactly where the strong images were.
Right.
And that would be the very first ones that I would submit, if you will, to our editors.
And
they were colorblind anyway.
And what's interesting is that a professional knows how to separate their emotions from their work. Most people, especially most of those, I would say 98% of those who are submitting an affair, have their emotions tied up in their work, and they ignore all the imperfections that are basically keeping it from going to the next level.
I think that's a great point.
Yeah. David, go ahead.
I just want to say, I think what Stephen said is right on. And even those of us that are really good at what we do because we've been doing it for a really long time, we still struggle with that. And so my point is, share your work with somebody else before you enter it.
And not your Aunt Matilda.
Share your work with your harshest critics, those that'll be really honest with you. Do David, that before you enter.
Can I ask you a question, David? How much is okay? I'm leaving. How much of that finding the perfect image tied to how many images you actually take at the time? You and I both come from the film world. I think everybody here does. And so when you only have 36 exposures, you're a little more careful. But when you're in the digital realm, you can take 700 images or 700 shots of one thing. Is there a corollary between the two? Maybe I'm not asking the right question. I mean, how much is quantity versus quality important?
Well, we used to, when we were shooting film, I used to shoot to the tank that I was going to have to develop the thing in. It all takes time. And, if you're going to try and shoot to a 4-reel tank, you're a little more restrictive in what you shot.
Sure.
But no, with digital, your comment is right on. I mean, I tend to way overshoot anyway.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
With digital, it's like I don't know. You just gave me you gave me a gold fine because I can shoot until the camera breaks or I run out of battery.
Right.
But you still, I think, the more you shoot, and I recommend everybody shoot a lot.
Right.
The more you shoot, the more you know what the strong images are. I don't know how everyone else works, but I honestly know when I've got the hero.
Okay.
Or when I'm in the hero type of situation. And those are the images I will try and get out and spend more time on than the rest of the entire thing.
Okay.
I always have to review everything I've shot, because quite often I'll miss, or I put too much attention on one image, and there's a very strong image that's a little bit deeper into the overall take.
So
I don't know if that answers it, but
a lot of that has to do with self-editing too, which is something that people are weak in. And like I mentioned earlier, don't listen to your Aunt Matilda. She loves everything you do. Find if you guys you have with Stephen and with Theresa and Dave and Lois and Greg and even Lee, you have you have people that will give you honest, critical feedback. And you have members in your club that even if they're not professional, whether it's the Photoshop users group or any of the camera clubs that are around here, take advantage of these people. Aunt Matilda makes nice pound cake, but she's not a photographer, not good at that editing process. Get feedback from other photographers.
Right. And I want to just mention one little thing, then we got to go do a 15-minute break.
Okay.
Give right 15-minute break.
My bladder, thanks.
Okay, for those of you who want feedback about your work, you need to be honest with yourself. Do not come to us wanting feedback, and when you really want somebody to say, "Oh, what a great artist you are! What a great photographer you are!" Facebook is full of people with 10,000 friends who think you're great. Okay, if you want honest feedback from a pro, that's why we're there as judges. We're not there to make you feel good. We're there to make you feel to be a professional. So, all right, with that thought, hang on,
really, just because it's very related to what you just said.
Okay,
one of the things I try to preamble when I do critiques for people is I point out that this is called a critique. That means critical.
Right.
I'm going to tell you where you suck.
Yeah.
Don't take it personally. I'm doing this so you know where you need improvement.
Yep.
If I just sit here and tell you how wonderful and how awesome you are, you're never going to get better.
Yep.
You have to know where you fail. That's why it's called a critique.
Good point.
Yep. All right.
Excellent point.
15-minute break. We'll come back. We'll start with you, Dave. We want to give the members a break, and then we want to do the critique. I got a bunch of images that people have submitted to me on through email, and they want you guys to judge them. So we've got that to do as well. So let's do a 15-minute break. We'll come back. I've got the 15-minute timer up and running. And Lee, I loved your suggestion about creating a new display capture inside of OBS. That worked perfectly. Thank you. So, all right, 15 minutes, bathroom break, snack break, lunch break, and then we'll come back. We'll finish up with the actual critique of people's imagery. So what I will do is I'm going to mute the sound to Twitch. Entertain everybody. There we go.
Yeah. So I was just reading because DeJarnold had actually said how is somebody supposed to know the spring doesn't mean spring on the calendar where they are, and it's kind of the mood. So like, give you an example. This is actually a picture. I don't know if you can see it or not, but it's a fantasy painting by an artist named Keith Parkinson.
He can't see it because the 15-minute timer is up.
Not a problem. But basically, it's a picture of a girl with a dragon, you know, and you know, the leaves are all yellow and golden. That's fall. You know, if you're looking at, you know, things like the, you know, fresh flowers in bloom would be something like spring. So it's just, what does the mood of the photo evoke? It doesn't have to be the calendar. So that kind of goes back to, we had somebody at that panel that one time arguing with us about whether or not their photo they took during the summer in Antarctica, and I kid you not, it was actually a photograph in the summer category of Antarctica. And it's like, well, we don't care, you know, because we don't know you're in Antarctica. We don't have access to your EXIF data on your image. So yeah, we don't know what the GPS coordinates or where you were at the time. So
The penguins weren't wearing jackets yet, so it was summer.
yeah, well, this was iceberg photos, but yeah,
Shows what I know.
yeah. Well, the you know, penguins were still in like fall fashion anyway, so it doesn't. They're a season behind.
Of course.
But I just always like, oh, some of those weird arguments we've gotten into with people, and that also goes to, like, I do a panel at comic conventions on how to make a living being creative, and we will frequently have people who sit there and get into arguments about how awesome a piece or a project or something they're working on is, and they're talking to the recruiter that is hiring. And it's like, if the recruiter tells you something, understand that that is the person who's hiring. Don't debate them. Figure out what you need to do to get hired. Then you can bring your creative, you know, vision kind of to the projects and stuff. But you've got to get your foot in the door. You got to get in there, and sitting there and debating with the people who are actually signing the checks is the singular most dumbest thing you can do. Because you will never get your foot in the door. You'll probably not even get a chance to peek in through a window at that point.
Wise words.
Yeah.
That's true.
I can't tell you how often that happens when you have somebody actually sit there and debate you during a critique. Well, I was wanting to do this. Well, it didn't come across.
Like, goes to what I was talking about, experience, and I early in my career was so obsessed with my originality and my vision of things. And that's all in my ego of my experience, and becoming a designer, becoming an artist, becoming a storyteller, a musician, a writer, any kind of storyteller. You are then doing the job of trying to create something new for somebody else. And that means you have to understand the audience. You have to understand the judges. If you're submitting things for competition, you've got to listen and take those critiques, and then build your ability to tell a story and create an experience for other people. And it's no longer about my experience as an artist. It's about my job as a storyteller.
Mm-hmm. I'm honestly shocked that we haven't gotten in more trouble between Greg, myself, and Steven, because how exactly would you describe our judging technique?
Well, you know, I think because all of us come from an artistic background and have long experience of being critiqued. I think that, you know, and we're all judgmental kinds of people, and so there's definitely a lot of judgment in things, but I think that's what we've gotten good at in ourselves, is how to take the judgment and how to be able to speak to, you know, what is the storytelling that's coming across. So yeah, it can be contentious and fun and overly critical at times, but I think, you know, we tend to generally agree on the principles of what makes a good image.
Well, because of what you just said, I really want Lois to get us made T-shirts this year that basically say, you know, like, you know, photo judges, we're judgmental.
Yeah, I think we need something like that.
I will wear that proudly during the judges panel.
The Judgment Day.
Yep.
I'll be back in a couple minutes. Nice job on that illustration, Lee.
Oh, thank you.
It's a good tribute.
I was going to give it to Lois so she can figure out what to do.
I can give it to his wife.
Well, I was thinking for the photo exhibit people committee, whatever in general. But I mean, if you want to give it to his widow, that'd be awesome too. I'm just going to give it to you and you decide.
Okay, that sounds great. You can bring it to judging day.
Mm-hmm. I have to draw when we do these things because otherwise I have ADD hardcore.
That's fine. I have a question for you. Have you done any work for Mandalorian or Book of Boba Fett?
Yes. Most of the Disney stuff is really like we're not allowed to talk about it. So have I done work? Yes.
So if I were watching it with you, you could tell me if it were yours.
Not so much that. Most of the stuff I'm doing is on the licensing back end. So the imagery for the shows has already been created by the time it gets to me.
Okay, because I know they show a lot of illustrations at the end during the end credits of those shows.
Yeah, that's actually ILM specifically. So Lucasfilm is a big company.
Mm-hmm.
ILM is Industrial Light and Magic. That's the special effects and concept art division. And most of those guys, you know, their ILM is pretty much the guys who do the art for the movies. Lucasfilm itself also does a lot of art for a lot of other stuff as well. So yeah, the ILM guys are usually the people you see doing. I'm trying to think of how to explain it. ILM is basically a subsidiary. Okay. You know, it's a smaller division of Lucasfilm, but they're pretty much the exclusive guys who are doing all the TV show stuff and the movie stuff.
Okay. Well, I mean, we love all these other backstories, and it's been fun to kind of watch these other stories come to life. I'm really fortunate to work with Lucasfilm just in general because I get to actually hear the production stories. Mm-hmm. And there was a convention back in October. It was like my first time doing it. It was a one-day show. It was called Fandom Invasion up in Encinitas. And it was absolutely wonderful because they had a whole bunch of cast members and voice actors and stuff from various Star Wars projects. And so they had me moderate the panel. And it was a lot of fun because it became less of a moderated Q&A panel and more of just a bunch of people who work on Star Wars telling funny stories. So like the banthas from the original series, they were actually, those were elephants that they put into costume. And then they had a specific elephant pretty much was in all the shots because it was the one that was properly trained. But the Tusken who rode her was actually the trainer, and he didn't know he was doing a movie. He just thought, okay, they hired an elephant for this movie. He shows up, they said, great, put this on. And so now he has to dress like a Tusken, and he's like, I can't see. I can't see where the elephant is. I don't want to get stepped on. I'm pretty sure she won't step on me, but yeah, it was really funny, getting these fantastic stories. Also the fact that he was a very, petite gentleman. Mm-hmm. And so the elephant the banthas looked much bigger because he was so small. But it was funny because, they made this costume before he got there. So when he showed up and all these giant beefy stuntmen suddenly had this tiny 5'2" guy, his costume. And then they're like, okay, here's your rifle and your gaffy stick, start running.
and he's got 1.5 feet of fabric under his feet, so he just kept tripping and falling, and it was pretty funny having him describe the stories and stuff. But I like getting those stories from those guys though, like what is their experience and stuff, because then it gives you idle chatter while Steven's away.
I can chatter too. Hey, you want to see? Hey, you want to see stupid magic tricks? We got time.
Always.
Ready? Da 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 da. Thank you very much. Da. Oh wait. Da 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 da. Yeah. Wait. Da 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 da. You're welcome.
He's also available for bar mitzvahs and birthday parties.
Absolutely, especially bar mitzvahs. Actually, I like the bat mitzvahs. My girlfriend is Jewish and she's from Israel, so be nice.
So are we paused so that we're not streaming live on Twitch right now, right?
We are streaming live, so they're listening to us banter.
Oh, okay.
Why, you didn't like my jokes?
Well, I was talking about I was answering some of the questions that popped up about because DiGiorno is basically saying if they don't already, the season's description should include the words mood or traditional, etc. As far as making sure that, because he was referring to like the calendar of the season, and I was talking about the that one submission we had several years ago where we actually got into a almost a shouting match with this one woman during the judges meet and greet thing, where she was the judges panel, where she was very upset that we didn't accept her summer photo of an iceberg. And
I get plenty of love notes written to us during the run of the fair from different photographers.
Oh yeah, I can imagine, especially since like you pointed out, thousands.
Yeah.
So we have to go through thousands of images. Not everybody's going to be happy, and especially the tier one, because I know like when we're going through tier one, there are times we'll actually just decline things from the thumbnail. Like we have to go through so many images so fast that you can see you get a screen that has 9 images on it, and we're supposed to click on it one by one, and sometimes it's all like I can see the bad masking in that one from here. So just
Greg, you're growing horns there, Greg. Oh, darn.
I don't like the horn.
So
I think Greg has a padded room. I'm jealous.
Well, it is interesting what you say about the in tier one. I mean, if you think about it just from a strictly time standpoint, if we spend 30 seconds an image,
we'll be there 2 weeks.
Well, seriously, that's 100 plus images an hour, and typically each judge, a set of 3 judges, judges what 300 to 350 images, something like that, Lois.
Yeah, something about that.
If something is not going to be unique and catch our eye, or we see faults right away, it's we're done. Goodbye. I mean, you got to catch our eye. It's got to be unique.
And there's always
jump out at us.
And there is no rusted truck category.
Wait, there's all things mechanical.
There is all things mechanical, which is kind of cool, but we get so many rusted trucks.
I remember the year of the cat.
That's right. That's right. And besides, that truck is one truck, and it's in Bodie.
Yeah.
It's not like we've got 40 or 50 trucks out there.
Yeah.
It's just this one truck.
Which is a great trip if you've never been to Bodie, anybody out there. But I mean, it's well worth it, and it is very a photogenic area, to say the least. You can spend days there shooting.
Well, I have my
that's right.
I have my Eastern Sierra workshop coming up in October. And Bodie is one of our destinations, and it's fabulous.
Nice. And by the way, also for anybody who's listening, they can still hear us on Twitch, right?
Yes, they can. And
I
can
have a channel too, Cozy Art. But I should probably say something in chat in a minute. But I have a Discord, and people put their artwork in the Discord, and then I haven't done it lately just because my workload's been really crazy. But periodically I'll do Wednesday streams. And when we do streams on Wednesday, I will stop what I'm doing, whatever I'm drawing, and we will actually, if somebody has a question, I will do my best to answer it. I will also go to Discord and do critiques and stuff of artwork that's been posted in Discord if people ask for it. So
but will you judge photographs too? Just out of curiosity.
I have actually critiqued photos as well.
Okay. I was just throwing that out for people that, we talked about earlier, that you want to get somebody who's been in this business for a while. You want to get their opinion on your images so they can, like Lee said, we can tell you if it sucks or not. I mean, the critique is that I really liked what you said on that, Lee. That was very cool. I'm going to remember that and steal it and take full credit.
Yeah, critique is French for you suck.
Yeah.
I wanted to mention that if, I don't know who our audience is. I'm going to assume it's primarily people that are in San Diego County. There are several photography clubs in the area. Polyphoto down in Balboa Park is one that comes to mind. But one of the silver linings of the COVID is that everything's online now, and most of these clubs have monthly judging, and I've been able to participate as a judge for a number of different clubs more often in the last 2 years than I had previously, because I didn't have to leave my house to do it. That is a really fantastic opportunity to get a professional set of eyes looking at your image. And I don't know about everybody else when they judge, but when I judge, I always provide feedback. It's something I like about the image and something that maybe I would take a different approach, or something that I think could improve it. So it's a great learning opportunity to get involved in one of these clubs and share your work in these monthly judging. Your images will be seen by a wide variety of judges if you do that.
If you guys want to know about various clubs, just email Theresa, email me, email Steven. Steven's got the Photoshop users group, that's his baby. So, I
know there's one in Fallbrook. There's a Fallbrook,
I'm judging that. I'm judging that online Wednesday night, Monday night.
It's a great group. And because I would have never gone to Fallbrook, I'm in Escondido. I suppose I could go to Fallbrook, but I had never gone to one of their meetings.
I would never
until they went
Fallbrook.
No, Fallbrook.
Teresa, you can borrow my helicopter next time.
I just never
watch
leave
Digital
my house
One
anymore.
All right.
There's also
I'm like.
There's also Dark Rumors, which is also in Balboa Park in the Photographic Art building.
North County Photographic Society is a very, very good one.
It's a very good one.
Yep.
Any of them with SCAC or the Fallbrook Camera Club is part of SCAC, I believe. I could be wrong on that. Southern California Camera Clubs, it's scacc.us. That's their website address.
I'm by the way, I'm cozy.
In fact, John, would you please type that address into the chat box on Twitch?
I don't have Twitch open. I don't even know what Twitch is. It sounds like, I'm twitching. I don't know.
It's kind of like that, actually.
Okay.
Where the gamers hang out, John.
Oh, well, that's why.
And artists.
And artists. That's right.
So there's a reason I don't have a face cam, and why my camera is only on my art table and my easel. So.
How do you spell ugly, Lee?
Would you share also the
Lee
Diego Fair Photo Show Coordinators page name on Facebook?
All right. So, what is the address, Lois?
If you type in SD space fair space photo space, there's space between everything except the SD. SD Fair Photo Show Coordinators.
Okay, SD Fair, SD and an FAIR.
Photo Show Coordinators.
Photo Show Coordinators. .com?
It's on Facebook. So that's a Facebook page.
Oh, it's a Facebook page. Okay, got it. All right. So there we go. SD Fair here. I'm going to just...
I have a chat. Is that the same thing as Twitch?
No, our chat is...
No, that's our Zoom chat.
Okay. Never mind.
All right, I'll put that inside of Twitch here. So
if you put it into our chat in Zoom, then it makes it easy for Steven to copy and paste it out of there.
Oh, I could do that. Good point. Yeah, I'll put that in for you now.
That's what I did already.
Oh, you did? Okay. All right. I will check the Zoom chat here real fast.
Lee, what's your reference? What are you drawing from? You have a photo up on your computer?
Ah,
yeah.
Just
That's
have a little
awesome.
photo. You know how hard it was to find a photo of Gene, because all the photos on Gene's Facebook page are of his fantastic photography.
Yeah.
But this was one of the tagged photos. So another photographer who, I wonder if the exit data is on here.
Yeah, it's
I
nice.
don't see any exit data on here. But
I love the shadow cast on his cheekbone. That's just
thank you.
fabulous.
Yeah, it's
Cool.
just right there.
Okay, great. So I just posted everything in the chat box for the Twitch members. Now, let's do the judging. So we had several members. Submit works is about 8. I chose 8 people total. Each one has 2 images, and this is going to, now all those watching can get to see how we think as judges. And
We don't always agree either, right?
That's the thing. Well, Theresa, talk about that.
Well, I think one of the real benefits of having us in teams or groups of 3 is that we come to a consensus that way. It's very easy to kick images out when all 3 of us disagree we all don't like it or don't want to keep it immediately, then it's kicked. If one person in the 3 sees merit in the image, we'll have a conversation about it. And if 2 out of the 3 agree, then it'll go forward. Usually that's the way we do it.
Okay. All right. So should I go ahead and share? I'm going to share. Let's see. You should be able to. Actually, you guys, the judges, you can't see what I'm.
I was just gonna say I don't see any images.
All right, you need
have to show
okay.
it in Zoom.
You got you got to show it in Zoom.
You have to share your screen in Zoom.
All right, very good. That's what I'll do. I'm gonna. Well, if I share my screen in Zoom, I can do this. All right, let me. I'm going to share that screen.
Technology. Do you know anything about it, Stephen?
Oh my gosh! Well, this one.
He can spell it.
There we go. I've got it. Okay, okay. I'm going to share my screen in Zoom so you guys see what I'm seeing. So you should
Excellent.
see Bridge.
You
see Bridge. Okay, excellent. Let me go and.
What is Bridge? No.
What is Bridge?
Hey, watch it.
We see your OBS. Now we see Bridge.
Okay, great. Okay, there we go. So we have a little bit of a problem in that no we don't. I need to give me a hot second here.
You need to say show
I need
contents of subfolders.
No, what I need to do, that's not what I want to do. What I need to do is share, make sure that this is on the screen, the Twitch people are seeing it on, and then I've got to share that same screen. So I'm
that hurts my head.
I'm sharing. I'm sharing it now. I think I've got it. Good. So you guys should now see the folders in Bridge, and the people on Twitch should also see the same. I think. Okay. Oh, I see what's happening. I'm sharing the wrong screen on Twitch. So let me move this over to Twitch. Okay. Now Twitch can see me. Now I have to go back and reshare my screen. And I'm going to want screen 3 and share that. Good. Twitch is sharing. You should be seeing Bridge. Got it. All right. That was a little confusing. Okay. So I've got 3 monitors. That's the problem. So whatever you guys are speaking on one monitor, Twitch is actually Zoom is sharing on another monitor, and yet Twitch is viewing off of a third monitor. So I had to kind of consolidate them all together. All right, there we go. So now we're organized. So Dan Closure is our first contestant here. He submitted 2 images. Let's actually take a look at this one first. And you guys take it away.
Do we have the judges talk about which category they think that it should go in?
Absolutely.
Digital art.
Architecture or fall? I'd say architecture.
Agree.
Color architecture.
Let me ask a question. Are the buildings on the right-hand side, are they real? Are they really that skinny?
Well, no, the perspective has been straightened, so the parallax has been
Okay, that's okay. Well, yeah. then
Yeah,
yeah,
I like
definitely
it.
architecture.
I like the geometry of the piece.
Yeah.
The symmetry in the foreground and the lack of a little bit off symmetry in the background. It feels like it's not quite as punchy, as sharp as it could be. A little bit in the contrast, a little bit of work there.
And that
And
could be just the projection too.
it can be, we can. This is one of the things that when we're judging, we're always on calibrated monitors, and we don't know how your monitors are calibrated when you do stuff. So the only thing we can comment on is what we see on our screens.
Quick 20-second pause. If you want to know about how to calibrate and profile your monitor, just contact me directly, or you can go to my webpage and you'll see all sorts of free resources on how to do that, if that's something you want to do, including the values that we're going to use when we calibrate and profile those monitors coming up the day before we judge.
Actually, I have the values at my fingertips right now. So the white point is daylight temperature of 6,000.
Yep.
Degrees Kelvin.
Yes. Luminosity's at 110. And the gamma's at 2.2.
Type that into the chat box so I can send it to people on Twitch.
Okay.
Yeah, good idea. There's an area in the sky that's the whiter area toward the right side there that is pretty flat, and it would be nice to see a little more texture in there, just a little more texture in the clouds.
The center part of the clouds is really nice, and to the right, it's.
Let me ask you guys something. If you were in the architecture category, would you accept this to tier 2?
Yeah.
Yeah, I would
Probably.
too. That was my immediate reaction.
Yeah, my immediate reaction was, wow, I really like this. It's hard to say for sure that it would be accepted because, again, we're looking at so many images, and 2 out of 3 we're kicking out. So
on this,
I don't see any glaring things that would kick it out. There's just, in terms of little improvements, that flat area that Stephen's pointing to, and the tree on the left, the golden tree, adds a really beautiful balance to the building on the right, but it also pulls my eye off the center a little bit. It's maybe a little too close. You've got that whole symmetrical shape in the center, and that sort of throws it off a little bit.
See,
I like that balance. I think the people standing underneath it, maybe they can be toned down a little bit. Like the tree's more interesting than that person's shirt's a little glowing there.
I would definitely tone down that sky. The sky is a little bit too bright here. My eyes going off the page.
And for me, kind of one of the things I was looking at as we were talking about the tree on the left and how it balances the building on the right. One of the other things that kind of shifts it is the fact that the image is slightly bright heavy.
Yeah.
If you look, the dead center line of it is actually, it looks like it's very centered. But if you look at the back of the monument, this is the 9/11 World Trade Center monument.
Oh, okay.
There's I go there, go to New York a lot, but on the right hand side, there is less of a gap than there is on the left. Mm-hmm. And you have those dark colors in that corner on the right and bright colors on the left. And so that's part of one of the things is kind of accentuating the off balance. If there's more of the image on the right, it might fix that. Right. Because I really don't want to crop that tree.
Hey, one thing we should mention as part of the judging process is we normally don't spend this in tier 1. We very rarely will spend this much time looking at the image until it gets to tier 2, and that's where we'll start to do exactly what you're hearing here. Generally, we only have if I'm incorrect, let me know, but generally we have maximum of 30 seconds to either say this thing has impact, we want to see more, and we move on. It's at tier 2 where we will spend the time to go through this. And
if there's an argument among the 3 judges, then
but in tier 1,
if there's one person that really doesn't like it or only one person who really does, then we'll have the conversation. Sure. Otherwise, it's all in or all, it's a 3 thumbs up or a 3 thumbs down.
And that's
I think I'm kind of spoiled with Stephen and Greg.
Yeah, well, that's when bribes are in order.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's when you start wheeling and dealing. It's like, well, remember that rock you really liked? What if we add it?
And this is why these kinds of critiques in the photo clubs, the critiques putting your stuff up at the photo clubs and coming to the judging panel,
Excellent point.
those are the opportunity to understand all of these different aspects and what we're thinking, where you don't get that if your photo is just thrown out or just put in to the show but doesn't win a prize. You've got to put yourself out there and listen to the critiques, and it's a good process for that.
Does the photographer get to ask questions from us in this process today, or are we just
If the photographer is here and if the photographer asks questions, then sure, why not? So if the
I think it's a good opportunity for them to ask questions if they want.
Maybe,
But my first
hold that
response
to
was
the
really
end.
positive.
Okay, so no, I don't see any questions yet. I will take a look at it. And no questions yet. All right, not even sure if the photographer is here. Okay, I'm here. He says he's here. Okay, good. I'm here. Thank you for the feedback so far. Any questions? This is the work of Dan Closure. All right, so we'll go to Dan's Closure second submission for today.
Well, if I was having an immediate reaction, I would accept this to tier 2. I'd like to see more.
Okay.
That
As
is
far as the
tripping
overall
how the
image,
reflection
what's
turns
that?
red.
Now, when you say you like to see more, what specifically do you mean?
Well, I'd like to see it printed. I mean, what you see on a monitor versus what you see in a two-dimensional reflective print. Well, a reflective print versus the transmitted light coming through the monitor, it always looks more bright. If I were going to sit here and look at this image, I would immediately, my eye is drawn to this right-hand side over here. Well, you can't see my mouse, of course, on the right, exactly over here, because my eye wants to go over there, and that's not the main subject.
Right.
So I would want to darken that down.
Right.
Other than that, I find it, and the other thing I don't like is the bluish cast to the steam. Okay, I'm being really picky here, but hey, that's why I get paid the big bucks.
I really love this image because the reflection is like, it's kind of like a heaven and hell kind of story for me.
Yeah.
Like that reflection.
That red
not,
reflection is trippy.
Yeah, it's really incredible. My concern would be, I would probably send this to tier 2 without a problem. My question would be, if you print it to 16 by 20, so 20 inches wide, and this is a problem for the panos that we see in the show, is they don't translate well at that size if they're, if they have this type of proportions, because they end up looking so small.
Maybe a what's a panoramic
category?
Large,
Yeah.
a large
Yeah.
print.
The large
With
print
this,
category.
I mean, we
probably
can't
better
tell what the
than-
resolution is from here, but like,
True.
my critique would have been the reflection has a much greater focus than the trees do.
Right.
But my eye
more
keeps going to the
interesting, too.
trees.
Right, because they're fairly prominent and detailed, and the out of focusness on the trees, especially on the right, seems my eye keeps getting
Right.
pulled in. That.
I'm getting pulled away from the subject,
Right.
Yeah.
exactly.
which I think is the reflection.
So we need to add more detail and possibly a little more color intensity.
Or
right-hand
de-emphasize the
side.
contrast in the trees.
Maybe make the image taller overall by adding some more foreground. So right now it's almost a 50-50. The horizon line's almost in the center, but if you could add more at the bottom, then you could create a 2/3, 1/3, where the bottom half of the image is the story because it fills more of the canvas.
I'm going to have to disagree with that. I think the crop is absolutely perfect on this. But you are right, Theresa, that if you make this a 16 by 20, and let's say even you put a mat around it, it's 18 inches long. It does have a tendency, she's right there, it does have a tendency to get lost in that weird 16 by 20 format. And it is something that I would consider, if it's sharp, putting in the big print category.
So
Mainly
Dan,
because is there not a panoramic category anymore, Lois?
No, it's called large print.
large print.
Just large print.
It's
Okay.
called large
All
print.
right.
So if
And
the file can support large print, then you can do a panorama
Exactly.
style. Now, I'm just kind of wondering whether you judges have any suggestions as far as the printing of this, because I'm concerned as to whether some of the colors might get lost.
well,
in the
Dan says that
out of gamut.
Dan says that this can go up to 2 feet by 5 feet.
Well, for
might from the
large
original
print, you can
file.
go up to 40 by 40.
40 by 40. Got it. Okay.
There's a little bit of a halo along the top of the, again, this is the kind of critique we would do at the print and not at tier 1, but yeah, along that horizon line.
Right.
So if you are going to print this for the large print category,
Right.
that would really show up in a large print.
And
You
that's
would
a
wanna
and
deal
that's
with that.
and that's a
Oh yeah.
that's
I
a
see it now on the right hand side.
yeah, that's a common mistake.
Yeah, it's along that.
Yeah, that's a common mistake that I'm seeing in a lot of landscape photographers' work at the fair. The halos
Yeah.
around the edges, because they refuse to put their subject matter on their own layer.
Well, they're using the hue saturation, color mixture, and making the cyan darker to darken
Right.
the sky down, and then it creates that halo.
Right, but it would not create it if it was on its own layer.
Well, as long as you understand how to manipulate layers and look for those things and
I know how.
Proper masking, yeah.
Yeah, don't mask it with a gerbil shaped brush.
Thank you. I was going to say make sure it's that cat shaped brush that you were talking about.
No, that's the cutting tool.
Oh,
So-
darn it. Okay, sorry.
So
You
he
cut
said,
your mat with a cat, you mask with a gerbil.
This
All right.
really is beautiful, though. It will go
Marmoset
through
also
tier
will.
1, I'm sure.
so he
The
says,
preface, I'd like to go back to my question as to whether you have any suggestions to make sure that colors will print out well, because I think that a lot of times oranges, reds, and blues can print out a gamut.
Well,
And then
that's
muddiness.
just the nature of the beast. You're going to have tonal compression when you go from what your eye sees to what is captured to what goes in the print. It's physical. It's physics. There's not anything you can do about it. All you can do is minimize it. And how do you do that? Well, you work in a raw file. For one, make sure you've got good punchy colors, and number two, make sure you got a good printer. Chrome does excellent work. Mine's better, but no, I'm just kidding. Chrome does excellent work. They are an employee-owned place. Well, so am I, except I don't have any employees. But anyway, the point is, there's a lot. What you call the North Coast Photo does excellent work. So I think if you have those three things in mind, you'll be fine. As long as you, to me, on my monitor here, the red looks really good. I wouldn't go any more saturated than that. The biggest thing to me is the right-hand corner. Where it's just too light and it's falling off, darken that, and then I would also get rid of the bluish cast in the haze.
In the
to
haze.
me, but that's just
Okay.
I think that would also, if you made that the less blue in that haze, that it would also make the challenges that y'all saw earlier between the trees and the reflection not be as much of a problem, because when you're looking at that blue haze, that sounds like it's purple haze. I'm sorry. I just think it would be a better image. That's all.
Well,
It's a great image.
The blue haze and the blue sky are basically sandwiching the green trees.
Right.
So, and that's what's
Right.
that's what's
Is that
drawing
what it is?
the eye.
Okay.
Yeah.
So actually taking the blue out of here would create a greater depth in the image.
Well, it would also, in particular, if you darken the right hand corner, brings your eye back to the center of the focus of the image.
Yeah. Yep, I agree.
Then your eye will go from the reflection to the bottom, which is beautiful,
Right.
to the trees at the top. And yes, until maybe it's just because I'm on a smaller monitor, but you need to do something with that sky where there's a halo around the trees. And where you can really notice it if you look is on the right hand side.
Yeah.
And Stephen pointed it out earlier. Yeah, you can really see the halo there.
Yeah,
The select sky tool in Photoshop is absolutely perfect for this.
Can I mention something on time? We have 14 more images, and we have about 2.5 minutes per image. If we're going to end at 1 o'clock, and I have to run at 1 o'clock. So
So do
Alright.
I, actually, now you mention it.
So now we're going to David Good, and we'll go to his first image.
I'm going to assume it's cricket on purpose.
Say that again.
Yes.
Oh, yeah. Well,
Yeah,
that
because
kind of
it
adds
makes
to
me
it.
Category.
It's a very interesting image, mainly because of that diagonal is going from the top left to the bottom right, which is because the image is tilted. There are a couple things that I would want to think about. I'm not sure. I'd have to think and see what the other judges think. I'm not sure I'd accept this. And there's the first thing that jumps out to me is that it's too flat in contrast. It just
Low
needs some more
contrast.
pop. Exactly. Number two is the sprig on the bottom right-hand corner that probably needs to be cropped out, cloned out.
The whole image needs to be cropped tighter.
Yeah, good point. You're right. If you
all the way, go back to where you had your cursor, Stephen. Right, I would crop part of that red.
Good point.
I crop into that out of focus. Yeah, I would crop up in there.
And that brings up a good point.
Yeah.
And I don't know if Lois talked about this, but you see how if we were going to clone out the green flower at the very bottom on the left-hand side or whatever that is, that succulent there, you're welcome to actually clone that and enter that in a regular category if we cannot tell.
That's right.
You better be darned good at cloning if you're going to do that. Okay. Don't try to add elements and do that, folks. I'm talking about removing items. Okay.
Right.
Yeah, I remember 6 or 7 years ago, we had a picture that was a bull rig, and the guy tried to drop a bull in, and it just didn't work. Okay. So don't add elements to your image unless it's in a digital art category, but minor cloning like this is definitely good.
Okay.
And by the way, what's the limitation on? I guess it's on journalism. Isn't there like a limitation on how much editing they can do to a photo?
None in documentary.
Still life, though.
You cannot add or remove anything. You can crop. You can dodge and burn. You can put a vignette around. Dave,
cannot insert. I'm sorry. Who did I step on?
Dave, is there anything else you want to add?
No, I'm wondering what category this is going in. This is
probably still life.
Still life.
Yeah.
Maybe still life. I don't know if this would fit well in plants.
No.
Right. No.
I don't think it would get past tier 1 though.
It doesn't really have the wow kind of thing we were talking about.
Mm-hmm.
I think the lack of contrast was the first thing. This probably would have been rejected at a thumbnail stage, honestly,
right?
Because they're that low contrast, may not have even been clicked on to open it.
I think you could, and this brings up a story. Jim Klein entered an image and didn't get accepted to. Back at the time was really only one tier because this was pre-digital, and the next year he won Best of Show, with the same image. If you don't make it into tier 1, you can re-enter it. And if, with the popped contrast and a little the cropping that Theresa talked about, I think you got an image that could advance.
If it was my image, I would go way further. I would turn it into something creative. It already feels like it should be creative because it's captured crooked, right? So that's a creative decision in the composition. So I would crop it tighter. I would really pull the focus into the single plant that's in focus by darkening everything down and softening the blur even more in that focal plane. Just really accentuate the creativity that started with the capture. Just keep pushing in that direction in the editing. Without that, I don't see it standing out enough to move forward.
Let's go to the next image.
Yep.
Yeah. Oh.
Whoa.
This one's an abstract.
No, abstract. I like that. Yeah. Is that the image, or are we zoomed in on it?
That is the image.
Is it like a pretzel eating a piano?
I think it's a piece of kelp.
Seaweed. Yeah.
On old piano. I would not advance this to tier 2. There's too many things. First of all, again, the same problem we have with the pano. There's so much light on the right-hand side that we're not sure what we're looking at or where our eye is supposed to go to. Interesting concept. I just think it needs some work, a lot of work.
And the one part of it that's in focus is not that interesting to look at. I look at it and I see it and then I go, okay, well,
yeah,
it doesn't
hold my interest.
Okay.
Yeah.
So we go to the next one. So, all right. So that now the artist has heard the comments, and the artist made a comment that a lot. The first one was cropped from a much bigger image.
Right.
It said old piano keys at the beach, one place at Maricosta Photo Contest. Won first place at Maricosta Photo Contest.
Well,
Yeah.
God bless them.
And see, that's what I was talking about with Jim Klein's image. One, you got a different set of judges looking at you know.
Yeah.
Yep.
But we're professional judges, so.
There you go.
You paying me, brother?
It's always pay.
Oh,
Okay.
yeah.
Faye Barsh.
Aw.
So I'm thinking this could be in My Best Friend, or it could be in Digital Photographic Arts, perhaps.
Yeah.
I don't think it would make it My Best Friend with that many different layers
Yeah, I
and
think it'd
whatever
have to
going
be in
on.
digital.
Because
Yeah.
it's sort of in the digital photo manipulation categories.
And the first
Yeah.
thing that jumps out to me is the dog. I can tell the dog is not part of the image. I'm not exactly sure why I can tell, other than the mask itself that we
It's
cut the dog.
uncanny
It's not quite
valley.
right.
The perspective is off and the shadow cast is off.
Is that what it is?
Yeah.
You're right.
Well, and the dog image is not in focus, and the edges on the mask are sharp. So
Yeah. This would
the edge
probably
of the
get
mask
bumped.
has to match.
I can tell you right now, this would get bumped in tier 1 just on the bad masking.
Exactly.
Yeah.
The
The textures
composition
are
is
beautiful. Yeah.
the composition is nice. The color cast, love
Yeah.
the textures. It's just the integration of all of the elements. You can actually see through the dog's butt there, through the little hunches into the.
You say that
Tail
live.
is blurry.
Well,
Oh, maybe not. No, that's
if
shadow.
That's intentional.
Also, look at the tail of the dog. It's just a blur.
But
The dog is
it's
out
that
of focus,
masking.
and the wagon is in focus, and the wagon's behind the dog.
Oh,
so
good
that's a problem.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And everything's in focus except the dog.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
the bricks are in focus. The bushes are
Go
in
back.
focus. The dog isn't.
Yeah.
Go back and take a better picture of the dog and try replacing the dog.
With-
And then don't be afraid. Like, I don't know if that if that brick is part of another larger image, but its perspective is off in comparison to everything else.
Mhm.
And what's worse is because of the contrast on it, it has a much stronger perspective of, like, you're able to perceive the perspective much stronger in that, because it has that higher contrast, that all the darks are pointing to the wrong direction.
Okay.
Yeah,
All
they're
right.
pulling away from the main subject matter.
So that would not pass first tier.
Yeah.
All right,
Not
cool.
it.
Okay,
Yeah.
we'll go to Joan Everett, and let's take a look at. Oh my gosh.
Oh.
Oh.
This
It
is
says it's a 7 megabyte.
6
Just to,
megs.
So then, why would Bridge do this? Let me.
Oh,
Hit
maybe
Control
that.
Zero.
Maybe that.
Can you zoom in?
Here, let me.
It's the physical size.
We'll open it in Photoshop.
There we
Yeah,
go.
there we go.
Hey, that's better.
oh.
That's
Yeah.
What category would you judges think this would be in?
Probably like digital art,
This
photo
would be
manipulation.
the lunar eclipse experience.
Yeah.
Have
Very
that
good.
solar eclipse experience.
well,
that was a
I'm
one-
not much of a digital artist, to be perfectly honest with you. But if I were in that judging that category, I would accept this to tier 2. I really like what I see.
yeah.
I like the fact that, well, we know what we're supposed to be looking at, okay, because they're showing us. And then you got this train. I have no idea what the story is, but it's really, really cool. It's Matrix-y. Matrix. I don't know if that's
Yeah.
like the movie.
Well, it's got a lot of beautiful motion to it. It's all you're all everybody's looking in the same direction.
Yeah.
The composition actually complements where the women are looking. All of the integration of the textures is consistent, and
It's a strong image.
it's
I
really-
love that the motion in the brush strokes, in particular, you can really see it in the hair of the two
Mhm.
women in the center, the dark-haired ones,
Mhm.
is actually at a 90 degrees to the point of view.
Yeah, that's
And
interesting.
it's creating this awesome, just, sense of motion.
Motion and wind. She as if she made the gesture of the wind moving from one corner
Yeah.
to the opposite corner. Yeah.
The
It's almost like this whole
opposite
picture is
direction of
just momentum.
Yeah. I think I'd like to see, there's a bit of a frame painted around it with brush strokes. I think I'd like to see that stroke a little darker.
Oh, good.
You know,
point.
that there's a, you
Like
see
it's
the
on a
brush stroke
canvas
along
or
the
something.
bottom. Yeah, I would just darken that painted frame just down a little bit.
I just noticed the name of the train. Oops.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Oopsie.
Yeah, this.
Oh, is it oopsie? Is that
I
what it is?
think, is there an I at the end?
I don't know. I thought it was
I think it's
OPS
an
exclamation
exclamation.
Or
point.
exclamation. There you
It's
go.
really
Yeah.
cool.
Yeah.
Cool. Very cool. All right, let's go to
Nice, John.
nice job. Let's go to her next image here. I'll open that up also in Photoshop.
Ooh. Well, does
This
that
has
have a
masking problems, the same
Yeah.
as kind of the same as a dog. So I would not pass this because of that.
And that masking problem, especially on the grapes, actually could be covered with a good shadow that's not being cast on
Yeah.
that cup.
Oh, good point.
Just make that whole lower left corner of the image dark as the upper right, and then
Oh.
you don't need a shot. You just blends to dark to black.
Doesn't need to be black. It just needs to be burned down a little
Dark.
bit.
Yeah. Also,
a lot.
there's a fragment
Agreed.
in your mask under the grapes, between the grapes and the cup.
Yep. Little black.
There's like a little
speck there.
black speck. Move more to the right.
To the right.
To the right. There you go.
Oh.
You just, in between the cup and the grapes. There's a black fragment from a mask. Also, the cup, the base of the cup is not symmetrical.
Yep.
Is it sharp
one
on
way-
the? Is the image sharp on your computer monitors, or is it just mine?
Well, I tell you what,
Yes.
let's.
So it looks soft to me.
It seems pretty artifacty.
I think if
That could be
you
integrated
were to
with
go
texturizing.
and paint, I mean, yeah, this whole thing can have a whole paint layer on top and the kind of
Yeah.
the way the other image was, and it would, because the composition's really nice.
Yeah. That
Just
grape
all
is.
the edges need to be fixed.
There's also a weird grape kind of falling behind the table somehow.
Yeah.
Oh, man. Oh,
Doesn't-
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
oh, yeah.
That wouldn't work.
Not good. That wouldn't
Good
work.
eyes.
Yeah, that wouldn't work.
Yeah, the base of the bowl isn't
Got to be fixed.
masked correct. Yeah.
The
The
base
right
of
edge of it
jug,
looks right and the left isn't.
the base of the jug is missing.
Oh, yeah, it is.
I mean, it doesn't even exist. It
Yeah.
totally just goes right to table. No lighting, no shadow, no nothing.
Didn't Led Zepp do a song called "The Base of the Jug Is Missing" once?
No,
It was, Andy Warhol.
no.
Oh, thank you. Was he a
God.
musical artist?
Yes, actually, he was the producer of Deep Purple,
Oh, great.
Velvet Underground. I'm sorry, my bad.
I was gonna say
So we're
Deep
going-
Purple. No.
We're going to go to Mike Reardon.
All right, Mike.
Did anybody notice that the plant Still Alive had a tag on it that said Mike Reardon?
Yeah, I did.
recognized
I
that.
did.
That was Mike's
I saw that,
Mike's
yeah.
cactus.
Well,
Just
this is pretty
interesting.
cool, and if it's
Don't
sharp,
ever
you
bring
might
up
want to put this one in the panoramic category.
that
A couple
Ford
things-
life card.
What?
Oops,
What
Where did we go
happened?
back?
nothing.
Never mind.
Never mind. I also see right in the middle. I see a reflection of or lens refraction that needs to be cloned out.
Oh, yeah.
The sky is very strong. This has. I would accept this to tier 2 if it was in the large print category. Again, and I might. Excuse me. Depending on what it is in one of the landscape categories, depending on what the other. It's nice looking, but needs to
It's hard.
darken in the corners.
I'm looking at a 27-inch monitor, so I have a nice experience viewing this image. We don't have that size monitors in tier 1, and I think it's worth mentioning that an image like this may not translate very well in our tier 1 experience because our monitors are small. We're looking at thumbnails that are fairly small, and I think this is a type of image that we need to see it really large to look into all of the interesting parts of it.
Or maybe
So
lowest.
I don't know. I can't say it would go
If it's
through
in the
tier one.
large print category, in
But
particular,
we're not going to
the-
see it large in tier one. In tier
well,
one, we're
understandable,
looking at
but
it
that's
on a
true
monitor.
for all of the large prints that are in the large print
Yeah.
category.
I think bringing out a little bit more of contrast in the textures would help it punch
Yeah.
a little bit at the smaller size. And what I see as the most obvious things are there are clone brush marks. I think that artifact right in the middle looks like a clone from somewhere that was misplaced, and there's some blurry spots in the waves down,
Oh, you're
down
right.
below.
And
in
some
the
repeats.
foreground, and some repeats, and so there's places where it's really sharp waves, and then there's some blurry spots, so making sure those are even throughout, and the textures in the clouds throughout, and I think it is a nice strong image. The colors, the contrast of that yellow line against the cool colors is great, but work on the textures and bring that texture out a little bit more.
Okay. All right. Next one from Mike.
It's Peter Frampton. I hate
Oh, it's
that
Bob.
the music sheet is the
Bob
stand is
there.
blocking his hand and guitar, because that to me that's part of the story.
Yep.
And there's just this
Yeah,
black void.
but I wish it wasn't there, but it's not a stage photo. This is documenting a real moment when he.
Yeah.
I think it's fabulous. I think it's
Particularly the high
fabulous.
key black and white.
Yeah.
Yeah, just
So
the
the
line,
photo-
simple line of the
I
microphone.
love so much of the detail in the face.
Yeah. The face is the story, really.
So I think this photo could possibly be entered in black and white photographs of people. Or Dave Gatley, do you think would this fit in the documentary?
Oh, that's a rough call. But yes, I mean, it would be a theater, production and whatnot, and that definitely is a documentary. I'm not sure if this is Peter Frampton.
That was a joke.
Bob
Peter
Weir.
Frampton's
Oh, okay.
smaller than I am.
Peter Frampton no longer alive.
Well, Peter Frampton
Hey, watch
actually is entirely bald now.
He looks like me.
Is he?
True. Yeah.
Although I'm more handsome still.
It.
That's open for judgment. I don't know if we make it to tier 2, but go ahead.
Okay.
No, I think it's a wonderful shot. I think it's a beautiful shot. I agree with the music stand or such, but if I were shooting it, I probably would have shot around that somehow.
Yeah.
I would have changed
Because the
position.
hands are, when he's playing a guitar, as featured as this is, you want to see the fingers, you want to see the strings, you want to see the whole instrument.
Good point.
And I do a lot of entertainment stuff, so it's I think I would have worked it better.
I've shot concerts, so I mean, I will like climb and get in weird positions or climb on top of amplifiers and stuff to make sure I don't use.
Okay.
Yep. Anyway,
I've got
it's
a great shot of Eddie Vedder looking at me rather inquisitively as I'm climbing an amplifier one time. To get a photo of him.
That wasn't because of your climbing in the amplifier.
All
slide
right.
down.
This one is by Pippi. And
So
Very
I would
handsome.
think this would probably go in My Best Friend.
Yep.
It's
I love it.
I'm
Ears.
almost wondering if it
Totally
wouldn't help
alert.
to pop the dog's right eye a little bit, just brighten it a little bit. But other than that, this is really nice exposure. It's very sharp. The crop is right on.
I think the background can be dropped down, maybe just
Good point.
just a tiny bit, and the eyes just a
Open 'em up a
half
little.
a step brighter. But
Yeah.
it's a beautiful portrait.
I would
love
accept
the,
this a tier
the
2
key light around the
automatically.
ears. Yeah, I would too.
to do a little more MPPA burn at all the corners and the sides a little bit, just to
Just darken it.
move your eye into our subject here.
Yep.
Beautiful dog.
Okay. All right.
Oh, we're real close on this one. I can tell you right now, David King would say, why are we not cropping in on this?
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay. You could crop in quite a bit and still catch the shadow if necessary on the bottom left, the left hand and right. You can crop all the way around.
Yep.
And as much as I like nature, I would also say kill the daisies on the right.
Yeah.
I'm the same
Yeah.
exact thought.
The yellow
They're-
from the
they're
daisies is
pulling my
drawing my
eye
attention
and not-
away
Yeah.
from everything
Yeah.
else.
Well, overall, the image
Crop
is
that
way
off.
too bright, I think.
Yeah.
Well, he's got to lose part of that fence.
But
Yeah.
the first thing that came out, that popped out in me is this just needs to be cropped in.
It's a great moment, though.
Yeah.
And again, if you were gonna,
Carter,
it's a beautiful shot in the way of stop action like that. Even though the tennis ball is out of focus, it doesn't make a difference. You can see right what it is.
No.
But I think if you brought the image down, you would also want to make sure, Theresa mentioned it earlier, that we make sure that the eyes and that area around the eyes, particularly if it's dark like that, are popping a good half stop wider. So you can see his eyes as they're so focused on that tennis ball. I would
Okay.
almost say that I'd have to see what else is in the category. I think I would accept this to tier 2, but
Okay.
I don't know. unless it
with
was
all of
cropped.
those comments, right?
I know,
yeah,
you're
but
right.
it would really depend on what else was in the category. But
Exactly.
if the photographer, the artist of this fixes the things we're talking about right now,
It would make
go
it tier
through
2.
tier 1.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But part of what you're saying, I think, applies to everything we've looked at it up to this point. You really, as a judge, you've got to view it against everything that you've seen up to that point, or you think you'll be seeing for the rest of the category. Quite
Whether
often,
that's fair or not.
Well,
Sometimes we'll hold them and come back and look at them.
Sure.
Yeah.
So
Oh,
this
man,
is
look at the detail in this thing, but the contrast right away is too flat.
and this one is
Just-
from Rob Pinavella.
needs to open up
This
the face.
could be fabulous, but
Yeah.
it needs some light
So
painting.
close.
You know, sculpt the light so you have our attention drawn to his hand and to his face.
Right.
And
You might be able to
darken
open
down
up-
the top left.
You might be able to open
Yeah.
up the crop a little bit on the right-hand side.
Yeah.
So that there's a little more of the, is that a lute? Whatever it is.
Look at how nice the composition is if you darken that upper left corner down.
Oh, true.
It's really nice.
I'd go tier 2 on this.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Next.
Weren't we just talking about Andy Warhol?
Yes,
Yep.
we were.
Okay.
That's maybe one of the shots.
Yeah, I'm almost wondering if the fact that we can't see the whole Campbell's soup can and part of the label instead is subtracting for the overall.
Yeah, we're
Is
seeing
the story the degradation of the label?
Good point. You got a point there.
I
See
think
why
the
there's
area
more than
around
one
the
judge.
can. Yeah, I think the red around it's more interesting to me than the can itself, and that makes me
point.
want to. I don't know.
It makes
It's
you want
something
to
not. It's
shout.
not working.
Shout.
Yeah.
Yeah,
The
if it
nutrition
was
factor.
centered, if the logo and stuff like like John was saying, if it was I think it was John, if it was the Campbell's logo was actually centered and
Like Andy Warhol. You can't
Like
imagine Andy
Andy
Warhol doing like this where the part of the label is showing.
yeah, this
Or
is
do
Emble
something
soup.
more creative, where the tomato on the label has the same texture as the red around, and it feels like there's a connection between the background color and the label itself.
Yeah.
I'm not sure what the.
I will say
story was
this:
there,
I've
what-
got the stream playing on an uncalibrated monitor, and I've got the zoom on my calibrated monitor. I do that on purpose, and that's because I often want to know what my art's going to look like when the marketing team's looking at it, because they don't calibrate. But
That's kind of scary.
yeah, so I actually do that periodically because I'll actually submit something to the marketing team and submit something slightly different calibration-wise to the art director. But on the Twitch stream, the uncalibrated, the reds match up great. But on the calibrated monitor, they're way off. So definitely when you're submitting this, I would, if you're trying to get that effect that Theresa was talking about the, having the reds match and whatnot, make sure your monitor's calibrated.
Yeah.
Also, looking at it, and I'm being really picky. The label, the white in the label is blue,
It is.
and so is the logo a little bit, but mostly the
Right.
label.
But is that blue a bothersome? Because it's a nice.
I think it is, but that's again a very subjective choice, which is why we have more than one judge.
Okay.
The highlights in the liquidy red are blue too, so at least that connects.
At least they tie in together. Oh, you
I
know
don't
what?
know.
That's what
I'm
it is. It's
confused.
actually, I thought it was
I
sitting
think-
on like red cellophane or something. It's actually dropping into something.
Yeah.
I think leave
Yeah.
leave the highlights on the cellophane blue, but make the highlights in the can white, which gives
So
it a
that your
greater
eye goes
depth.
to it.
Yeah, it goes right to it.
And that, by the way, just the fact that we just kind of had that, ooh, or at least I did, had the, oh my God, it's actually falling moment, is part of it is the detail of the splash that would have let me know it's falling is missing. So like I don't see the droplets exploding off the sides type stuff.
I think you were right to begin with. It's dropped in cellophane or something.
Right.
Okay.
Maybe that's been colorized. I'm just guessing.
Yeah, I don't know what it is, but I guess
Cool.
part of it is part of the story's missing, but also in tier 1, we would have not even taken that much time to try and figure out
No,
what's going
right.
on. We would have looked at it and been like,
Yeah,
well,
if we're confused, I was
move on.
confused by that. I would have just passed on it because I
Yeah.
was confused.
All right, the last one.
Clarity, very important.
The last one.
That dude looks really uncomfortable.
You should see what he's sitting on.
There's a spike. I was wondering about that.
Yeah, but look at what's going on in the background.
Yeah.
But it took a while for me to get there. And
Yeah.
it shouldn't take that long to get to that part of the story.
I think if you made
Yeah.
this crop a vertical and straightened the horizon and focused on the couple in the background kissing and capturing, including the photographer of the group, that this would have made a much more interesting images. I think the idea is there. I think there's some execution and post-processing that could have totally changed the way this picture looks. To me, it's way too cool and way too light. And I mean, it doesn't look like the sun's shining.
Right.
It's very low contrast.
Yes.
I think this.
It's
Oh,
not
go ahead. Sorry.
Well, I was gonna say it's very low contrast, and also and I think cropping it and fixing the contrast is a big thing, significantly. Also, does it look kind of like weird, oddly slanted to you guys?
Yeah, it is. The horizon's not
Yeah.
not straight.
Yeah.
Okay.
There, this goes to what Lois was saying in the beginning about shooting too wide and having too much going on.
Yeah.
It took us we don't have that much time in
Yeah.
tier 1 to
This
really.
to me, this would not advance to have advanced to tier 2. There's too many
No.
things going on post-processing,
Yeah.
Okay.
which is
Yeah.
why
But
I
it's
mentioned
pretty
if you've got a
fun, but-
strong image, get someone like Larry Vogel or Theresa or myself, someone to work on your image and spend the extra few bucks. This image could have advanced to tier 2 and done quite well because it does have some humorous things aspects to it.
You had the right idea. You just
Exactly.
didn't come across with cropping at all.
Exactly.
Was this artificially zoomed in on?
Nope.
This is the whole.
That's
No,
the
this
whole
is the
image.
full frame.
Okay.
So I don't know what the maker's intent is, but I would think this could possibly be in documentary or it could be in Our Best Friend.
I think there's a major technical flaw in that other girl not being in focus, at least more in focus,
Yeah.
really throws off the image.
Yeah.
Me
Unfortunately.
too. I keep
So I think
looking
that-
at her.
Yeah.
Yeah.
She seems like she should be important, but because she's blurry, she's not, and she's walking out of the center of the
Exactly.
picture.
Well, also, yeah, it's
Instead of
she's
in,
looking
yeah.
off frame, but the dog's looking right at you.
Yeah.
So my eyes keep getting thrown to the left.
It's almost like two photos, her on the left and then the dog on the right.
Right.
Yeah.
Put
Exactly.
it right down the middle.
Now, just let me ask this question. What if they crop the little girl out of the picture?
I
I don't
Then
think
you're-
it's impressed.
It'd be a cuter shot, but I think what they were trying to say is that the child is walking, and that's really her stroller that the dog is sitting in. And that might have been what they were after in trying to illustrate this, but it doesn't come across. I mean, the focus, particularly on the child, it's just off. It's way
What's
off.
funny is compositionally, everything makes you look at the child. The child's just off focus.
That's it.
If you look at the lines and stuff like that, all the framing and stuff, so the street lines in the street and everything, all are pointing right to that kid's eyes. The horizon line right on level with the kid's eyes.
Yeah.
The perspective, everything comes down to like even the background with the blurred lights and stuff. They all form an inverted pyramid headed right to that kid's eyes. That kid's out of focus and it throws everything off.
And
Right.
the tonality in the dog's face is nice, and the tonality in the bag is nice.
Yeah.
And that's really where you want to go, and everything else is distracting from that. And that alone, the dog's face is not enough.
Yeah.
it's not quite sharp enough to be cropped.
Also, the little girl has a spike coming out of her head.
Oh, I think that's
What's wrong with
fascinating. I
that?
can't stop looking at it.
I'm
want
trying
a
to figure out,
I
is
want
it
a
like
spike
a
on my
buffalo
head.
thing? Does somebody like spearfisher? Like, what's going on?
I want a spike on my head.
Spiking gel.
Yeah.
Like alfalfa from our gang.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Hair on your head. Give me a break.
My AirPods are about to run out of battery, so I think
Well-
I think I'm done.
Well, you know what?
Was that all of them?
That's it. That is
was
all.
good.
God,
Oh,
you guys
right
were
on time.
no, you guys were fabulous. You got into it. You interacted with everybody. Interacted. Oh, this is great. This is great. This is really wonderful. So I don't see any other comments from.
I did put a link to how to calibrate and profile your monitor. I put that in the chat for the Zoom if you want to put that on.
Okay, I'll do that now.
Okay. And
Calibrate.
it has
Hopefully-
video too.
Oh, there it is.
Hopefully our comments were helpful for everybody that's listening live or going to watch the recording.
Well, this is also a good tune-up for us because a lot of us. Now, Teresa
We haven't
mentioned.
done this yet.
We haven't. I
Doing it
mean, I
online.
have, but again, it's
Yeah,
been for
too.
like I said, Wednesday night. I'm doing the Fallbrook Camera Club judging online by myself, which is not near as much fun because hearing y'all's comments has made me think. And that's what I really, really like about San Diego County Fair is that we have multiple judges and we have multiple categories, so you can really get down into and dig into an image in the down and dirty. And I really appreciate you guys for that a lot.
One of the things I love about
Except
the fair,
for Lee.
Except me. Yeah, I'm the oddball out. But one thing I really do like though is that we have, people like myself who, digital artists and photo compositors and photo bashers and whatnot. But you also have people who are landscape photographers and portrait photographers and studio photographers. And everybody has different disciplines. So to hear all those various different disciplines give their feedback on something really kind of gives you a much broader perspective of what the images are capable what kind of mood or whatever the images are capable of producing.
Exactly.
Based on what people's experiences are. So that's kind of Mandala had asked the question about the I would have done it this way. Is that a common thing for us to say? And I replied in chat, absolutely. Because that is, we judge based on what our experiences are and what we do
And what we had for breakfast that morning.
Yeah, and also and keep in mind, we also sometimes judge based on the previous image.
Exactly.
Another peer, like I cannot tell you how many times you've actually heard somebody go, "Oh, it's a beautiful sunset." It's like, yeah, just like the last one, know. And it's we see lots of sunsets. We see lots of Joshua Tree. We see lots of trucks, rusted truck.
We see lots of rusted trucks with Joshua trees.
Singular rusted truck. And we see lots of piers because those are what San Diego's known for. Yeah. So
those same images in a contest, say in Chicago, might do quite well.
Oh yeah, Ohio loves sunset photos over the ocean,
and they like rusted trucks.
Yes. Well, they get that.
So I've heard.
But actually, one of the things that's kind of cool though is there's a quote from an artist named Maxwell Parrish that I love, and he would paint with these fantastic gold and purple colors and whatnot. Somebody once asked him, it's like, where do you come up with your color palette? And his response was, when you're watching the sunset, they're like, yeah, it's like, I turn around. Yeah. And so he's looking at all the colors that the sunset is casting on the mountains, on the buildings, things like that.
Right.
And that's where those fantastic golds and purples would come from. So, occasionally when you're out there and you see a beautiful sunset, turn around, see what's on the other side of you.
Yep.
Well, thank you so much. Thank you, Lois. Thank you, John, Teresa, Greg, Lee, and David. You guys are all wonderful. Great. So, so for those who are attending, we have monthly meetings. The next meeting is going to be in March. And we have a photo compositor coming, and I'll have more details on that later. But I hope this has been very helpful to you. And I'm streaming weekly on here anyway. You're welcome to come and join me anytime. But definitely tune in to the Photoshop User Group presentations. So I'm going to stop Twitch. and we will talk to everybody on Twitch next month.
Happy belated birthday, Steve.